All right, well, we will call our Sierra Madre Day City Council meeting to order. Thanks everybody for coming. I know you're missing out on other fun Sierra Madre Day activities, so we'll try to get you out of here as soon as possible, but do know that this is our first meeting back from our August recess, so as you might imagine, there's lots to cover. But to start, please call the roll, Madam City Clerk.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Mayor Kelly Krebs.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Robert Parkhurst.
Here.
Councilmember Edward Garcia.
Here.
Councilmember Jean Goss.
Here.
And Councilmember Chris Lowe.
Present.
Madam Mayor, you have a quorum this evening.
Thank you. If you could all rise, if you're able to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so I did not prepare a lengthy inspiration tonight. I just want to thank the community, the businesses, the residents, the staff. This has been such an amazing day. Everywhere I went today for Sierra Madre Day, the 9/1024 day, has been, everyone, attendance exceeded, enthusiasm exceeded expectations. It's really just been amazing, especially considering it came together pretty much over the summer, not that long ago, and kudos to everyone involved, particularly the communications and marketing team. I had a number of people say how impressed they were with how quickly the information got out, how much people were in the know, and that's amazing. So thank you to everybody involved, and it's not over. There are still events happening into the evening. Just as a preview, we will actually adjourn momentarily for the 7 p.m. Horn blowing or whatever, horn sounding. So we'll all go outside and enjoy that. That's going to be fun, especially for long-time residents. And so I just wanted to do a quick thing. You know, obviously, Sierra Madre was incorporated 117 and a half years ago, and on February 20th, 1907. We did not get our zip code, however, until October 1st, 1963, 61 years ago. And I learned today that ZIP is actually short for Zone Improvement Plan. So that's your new fact for the day. And I have to say that even our national major political parties are honoring Sierra Madre Day by scheduling the presidential debate tonight. So everyone is on board. So with that, I will move on to our business. And ask for approval of the meeting agenda. I might suggest that perhaps we, if there are commissioner or potential commissioner applicants here, that maybe we move that up in the agenda. So I would entertain that as a motion and a discussion.
So moved.
So, I don't know, do we have any applicants here to speak tonight?
Madam Mayor, all the applicants were invited to attend this evening's meeting, but we didn't receive confirmation that anybody was coming.
We have one speaker card that was handed to me before the meeting started.
For one of
the applicants, yes.
Okay, so I would entertain then moving that up perhaps in the agenda to maybe right after our presentations.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Sure, great.
Unanimous.
Okay, I guess I moved that. Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you. Let me move that up. Okay. So I would also entertain a motion to approve for reading resolutions and ordinance by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Approval of the meeting minutes of our last meeting, July 23rd. Any changes, Madam City Clerk?
Madam Mayor, the City Clerk's office did not receive any requested changes or amendments.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I have one small one.
Okay.
Page 4 of the minutes under Councilmember Garcia. It says Senior Community Commissioner Patrick Kroc. I think we should change that to Patricia Kroc, as that is her name.
Good catch, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you.
Okay, and does someone want to make a motion to approve as amended?
I move to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. All right, so mayor and city council reports. Who would like to go first?
I'll go.
Sure. Councilmember Goss?
Okay, so we were off for a month, and I got relieved of some of the duties we usually partake in. I did go to the Library Board of Trustees meeting on August 28th. There was much discussion and excitement concerning the groundbreaking ceremony for our new library, which is coming up next week on the 17th. And I'm also pleased to announce the board reorganized and elected new chair and vice chair, and our new chair is Diane Sands, and the new vice chair is Lee Gluck. So congratulations to the two of them. I'm sure they'll do a wonderful job. I also participated on the Transportation Subcommittee back on August 28th. We're meeting with contractors to try to determine what kind of transit service we want to use here in Sierra Madre. And this was the first contractor of two that we're meeting with. We discussed the details of their particular proposal to provide transit service in town. And tomorrow afternoon is our next meeting. We will be meeting with a second contractor at that time. And then we will begin deliberations on which way to go. And as for 91024 Day, I got to witness the Sierra Madre CERT team turn on the city siren at noon today. I don't know if you heard it, but it was on loud and clear. And then right next door to it, the Rose Float Barn was wide open and had hot dogs, Costco hot dogs, I might add, which were great, and refreshments. And it was just well attended by the community, by staff, and our council, and just was a lot of fun. So I think it's just been a fantastic day for the city. Madam Mayor?
Thank you very much. Who would like to go next?
I'll go.
Sure.
It was nice to have that break. So there was took a pretty good break. Didn't have a lot of responsibilities for the city, but there was a senior community commission meeting on September 5th, last Thursday. Typical meeting where there's debriefing on the programming that has been going on and the programming that is to come. I always encourage anybody 55 and over to look at the the programming that's offered through our community services commission, senior community that is. Also, very interesting presentation. Senior Planner Lynn introduced our planner Caitlin Huang to give a presentation on the CBDG block grant, and I believe it's just over $17,000 potentially per participant. If they're low or moderate income, they're able to apply for this to home improvements for things such as wheelchair ramps, roll-in showers, handrails, things of that nature. So I think it's good information that we need to get out to our senior residents to know that those monies are available. And today, yes, took advantage of the morning breakfast burritos with our fire department, and cake and ice cream served by the Kiwanis at the Hart Park House, and a few other events throughout the day. It's been a great day. I can't wait to hear the horn at 7 o'clock because I remember 5 o'clock on Fridays. That meant I'm done for the week. It's time for the weekend to start. So I know it's only Tuesday, but it'll be resonating with me that way. So that's all I have for my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Lowe?
Let's see. So I went to a really exciting event, actually. It was the LA County League of Cities, the LA County division. And the mayor for Arcadia, Michael Coe, is now the division president. And it was a really phenomenal event because he's a retired serviceman. He's also a doctor. And he had a guest speaker that was from the armed services that really said how our communities are changing so much. And it takes all of us to support each other, and that the military doesn't just have this duty to protect us, but also to serve our communities and create environments where all of us feel safe and all of our community members and our youth really have something to look forward to. So it was really a phenomenal event. Another really great event I went to was the National Women's Political Caucus, and they had their honorees for this year, and this phenomenal woman is 90 years old, and she was the foreign affairs delegate since she was in her 20s. and she helped spearhead women being able to legally have positions as ambassadors as well as other country representatives, where before they couldn't, and not until JFK's presidential term, then was it made law that women were now protected to be able to serve in those capacities, and before they couldn't even learn Russian to be able to they couldn't go to Russia to serve, so it's phenomenal. And then I, of course, attended the burritos this morning at the fire department, thank you, and the hot dogs in the afternoon with the snow cones and everything else, so thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Sure. Yeah. So a number of things went on. I also was at there were 2 transportation committees since the last meeting on July 31st and August 28th. Nothing additional to add to that. 3 meetings of the Clean Power Alliance, although I had to miss one of them, but nothing to report on that. On August 20th, our Cancer Support Center here had a 1-year anniversary, and so they had a really nice event there, honoring a lot of the folks. It was a packed house. We're really lucky to have them here in town and have that support center, so it was really, really nice. And then on August 22nd, the Chamber had its annual meeting, and we had a presentation from a consultant that we've hired to look at how we can improve the business and business opportunities in the city. So we had about 20 or so individuals, 10 or 15 different businesses here, and then they went and walked the city and tried to figure out what opportunities we can do to enhance businesses and attract and retain businesses in the city. So that was really good. I was impressed with that. And then I ran around town quite a bit today with the burritos this morning. I was able to get into the Essex House, which had a great tour there. Hot dogs. I even stopped by R.T. Rogers briefly to say hello. Savor the Flavor, Lenora Moss, Mother Moo, and then the ice cream here we had over the Hard Park House. I just want to thank all of the businesses and all of the organizations for everything they did to make this day so special. I mean, it just everybody. And I think as someone said, I think as the mayor said, we didn't figure this out. I don't know why, but we just didn't figure it out until very recently. And the fact that we all came together so quickly on it was just phenomenal. It was just a great sense of civic pride on all of that. So I want to thank all of the businesses. I also want to thank staff. It was a busy day. I saw staff all over at all of these events, and it took a lot to put this on. And so I want to thank everyone for taking the time to do that and making this day so special. We've got, I even forgot about the library. We've got these great cards. There's some in the back here. So a special card. I think we're probably too late, but there's going to even be a special cancellation by our post office for anything mailed today that you'll get on the back of the card. So really, just a really exciting day. So thank everyone for making it so special.
Great, thank you. Just I have a quick report of my own. I was fortunate that my commission and outside organizations also took an August break, so I actually had a full break from official duties, which was amazing, and thanks to some folks who filled in for me at various organization meetings this week, or this month, as I was out of town a couple of times. The one thing I did do last week, and in preview of something happening later this week, is I was able to give a sneak peek to the state of the city to the Rotary Club last Tuesday, which, thanks to them for allowing that. It allows us to sort of work out some actual glitches that we had, as well as, really seeing what resonates. And they asked some great questions, and so that is a preview for our State of the City that's going to be this Thursday, and I'll have more information in my announcements. And just again, to repeat everything everybody said, I mean, it did seem like everything I did today was around food, but that's very apropos of our city events. So, and again, thank you to everybody, particularly the city staff and all of the service organizations who really just jumped on this. And the barn was just hopping, so I hope folks had a chance to get up there. They were there for lunch, but also had folks there and some vendors there all day. So and live music, and it just really was phenomenal, the spirit of everybody and the participation of everybody. So thanks for that. And then in terms of actual formal announcements, before the State of the City on Thursday, tomorrow, we have the solemn 23rd anniversary of the September 11th attacks. So I want to allow everyone an invitation to join us tomorrow at the fire department at 6:45 a.m. Where as we have in the past, we will hold a short remembrance and tribute to honor the lives lost and the bravery of our first responders. So please come and attend that. Following the ceremony, we will serve a continental breakfast as we have in past years. As I just mentioned on Thursday, so this is a busy week, on Thursday I will be presenting the State of the City, themed this year, Securing Our Future, and we'll have it here at the fire station at 6 p.m. Next Tuesday, on the 17th, at 11 a.m., as mentioned, I think by Councilmember Goss, the groundbreaking ceremony for the library will be taking place at the library in the back. So we will have speeches, conversation, refreshments. Congressman Holden will be there, as well as some other representatives of our local elected officials, as well as your actual local officials. And then registration is opened for Rodeo Bingo at the Hart Park House on the 19th. It's $7, and it will be at 12:15, I assume in the afternoon. And seniors 60 years of age and up can participate in the lunch program. So as we've mentioned, we've restarted the lunch program. We serve meals Monday through Thursday at 11:30. Please come by 11:15 if you're looking for a meal. It's a suggested donation of $3 for seniors or $5 for non-seniors. You do not need to make a reservation, and I'm pretty sure on Thursdays they give you an extra meal to use over the weekend. So that is a great program, and thank you very much to our senior commission for spearheading, funding, and continuing to organize that. And I think that is our announcements. Is that right?
I had one more thing.
Sure.
On September 18th, we have a town hall meeting to go over more information about our current city's status and the outlook in our future, and more information about our budget and things like that, in response to giving you an educated background about the new measure that will be on the ballot on November 4th, which is Measure PS, and just why that's there.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's going to be here.
So here on the 18th at
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Okay, thank you. All right, so we will shortly open up for public comment for items not on the agenda. Just quickly to remind everyone, because it's been a while since we've been together, your participation is welcome and invited. We request that you refrain from making personal, slanderous, profane, or disruptive remarks. If you continue to disrupt the conduct of the meeting, I will ask you to stop, and if you continue, we may ask you to leave. Please don't bring any signs, posters, or large objects that will disrupt the meeting or otherwise impede the orderly course of our meeting. With that said, I trust you all are on board, and Madam City Clerk, do we have any speaker cards for public comment for items not on the agenda?
We do. Thank you, Madam Mayor. The City Clerk's Office also received an email for items not on the agenda this one received from Rob Stockley. That email was forwarded to the City Council and is being posted on the city's website for public inspection. The one speaker card that we have for items not on the agenda is from Caitlin Huang of the city's planning department.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Krebs and City Council. Happy 9/10/24 day. It's very nice to meet all of you guys. If we have not met already, I'm Caitlin Huang. I'm the assistant planner for the planning department. As City Council member Garcia had mentioned, I've been working really closely with our planning manager, Lynn, in the new senior minor home rehabilitation program. As you may remember, early this year in February, the City Council had authorized the allocation of the CDBG funds for the senior minor home rehab program. So since the meeting in February, staff has been able to select a consultant, and we've been preparing materials to launch this program And we're really excited that we're able to launch it today on the special day of Sierra Madre Day. In summary, the program and the CBG funds allocated will assist low to moderate income senior residents in providing grants up to $17,000 and $255 per project in repairing and improving some of their minor home rehab repairs or improvements. Some may include wheelchair ramps, handrails, tub to roll in, shower conversions, and many more. If any interested seniors would like to review those, there's also in our program guidelines in our city website. In general, to be eligible for this program, you'll need to be low to moderate income and also a senior of 55 years and older. And we have some program flyers in the back of the chambers, and you can also find them on our city website. If you choose to complete it, you can return it back to the planning department and we'll send it to our consultant for review. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, I should make one more announcement, and I'm going to call upon the city clerk or city manager. Our website changed today as well. So you will still be able to get to the website even if you go to the existing link, but the new website and staff's new email addresses will be
City of Sierra Madre, ca.gov.
So check that out when you get home and update your links accordingly. But as I said, anything you have now in terms of email addresses or links will still roll over to the new, probably not forever, but definitely for a while. So that's an exciting announcement again on Sierra Madre Day.
I believe that's an error.
I'm sorry?
I believe that's an error.
Oh, okay.
Sierra Madre,
Do you want to make public comment, sir?
well, you guys get figured out.
Okay, thank you.
It does not say city. It's Sierra Madre.
Okay, sir, if you want to speak, you need to come to the podium.
Tell you what, he's gonna take care of it right here.
Good evening, members of the City Council. Just for clarification, my name is Thomas Holmes, Communications. It's SierraMadreCA.gov. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, we have no other speaker cards for items not on the agenda.
Great, thank you. So we have 3 presentations tonight. The first is to our local Sierra Madre Pony 14U team in relation to their successful 2014 baseball season. And I think the Pony president, Spencer Vodnoy, might be here. So I don't know, you can go ahead and speak first and then I have a little statement, so.
I don't have to speak at all. But
Okay.
I thought you were calling me up, I'm sorry.
Sorry. So I just wanted to celebrate their achievement this year. You know, our own 14U team made a remarkable run, advancing to the West Zone tournament and finishing 1 game shy of reaching the Pony World Series. Yes, please. So there are more than 4,000 pony teams across the country, and they finished in the top 6 teams nationwide. And I suspect, although I don't know, I suspect that the West region is particularly competitive, so even more impressive that they were 1 game away of coming out of that zone. It really speaks volumes about the hard work, dedication, and spirit of our athletes who have represented our city so proudly. Of course, it's not just the players. Every great team, behind every great team is a dedicated group of coaches, so thank you to all the coaches for all the work. I know firsthand, I actually do know firsthand how much work goes into that, and all of the guidance and mentoring beyond what goes on in the field. So, and of course to the families, all of the sacrifice and every Saturday and probably Sunday and all the driving and the heat and all that you do to support your players is really inspiring, and you know, of course, we appreciate that. So tonight it's our privilege to honor the players, coaches, and families who made this journey possible. Your hard work and dedication reflect the very best of Sierra Madre. So congratulations to the Pony 14U team, and we look forward to your very many accomplishments in the future. So I do have certificates for each of the players, so maybe, Spencer, if you want to meet me at the podium for that. And if you want to say anything, please.
Really briefly, first of all, I want to thank you and the council for allowing us to come here, and of course for honoring these boys. The one thing I really thought was most impressive, I was looking up the population of the different cities. Our city being about 10,800. The smallest city that we beat on our way to almost going to the International World Series was 46,000 people over in La Jolla. And I call them the Beach Killers because they beat every single beach team they played until the last one. That was Long Beach. But anyway, it was a phenomenal experience. The parents were spectacular. The city, we had a lot of people come out from the city. Some were relatives, some were not, but they came out and supported us. It was unbelievable. We appreciated that. We saw you there, and we knew you were there, and we felt your presence and your support. And this, quite honestly, is a wonderful experience for these boys to close out what was, quite honestly, the best summer of baseball I hope they ever had. So, thank you. Yeah.
So I just want to show everybody, these are our certificates of recognition, everybody's name, in recognition of your outstanding 2024 season, presented this 10th day of September 2024 by the Sierra, sorry, I got to be behind the microphone. I know better. Presented this 10th day of September 2024 by the Sierra Madre City Council, Mayor Kelly Krebs, Mayor Pro Tem Robert Parkhurst, and Council members Edward Garcia, Jean Goss, and Christine Lowe. So I'll have your coach call your names and we'll give those out.
The only other thing I want to do is recognize my coaches, Eric Sanchez and David Blake. Okay, you guys want to just come up and grab these? So we got Connor McKinney. Josh Fernandez. So Jonathan Blake's not here, but his dad is. He was one of our coaches, so he can take it. Nick Adams. Jake Smith. Jake's on the mend. Nate Garcia. Wyatt Barrier. Got a couple of boys who are not here, so I'll go through them really quick. Andrew Cooper. Miles Burke. And Ryan Valdivia. Romeo Sanchez. Another one, Lucas Villalobos, who's not here. We call him Panda. Julio Barrero's not here. He's at a Dodger game. I get it. And then the last two, we got Ashton Lewis. And some kid named Jeffrey Vodnoy. Sure. And David, Eric, come on up.
We're going to have to consolidate.
Kind of like a leg each other. Maybe some people get on their knees.
Yeah, you want counsel? Yeah. Especially your back.
Make sure you guys, everybody comes in the picture, right? Nobody's behind nobody. We got the official city camera in the middle there.
Hi, everybody. Nice going, babe. Everybody just look at me really quick, and then you can look at everybody else you want. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Okay, I will call up Water Superintendent McGee. Unfortunately, has to follow that presentation. But we no less look forward to your presentation on the annual water supply demand assessment.
You cannot follow baseball. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. Happy 91024 day. I had to practice that one, so I didn't say Beverly Hills 90210. This is a report, the annual water supply and demand assessment. Want to change this? Thank you. This is a report that we've given a couple of times to council if you've been privileged long enough to be here. It's the last 3 years we've been doing it. This report has already been conducted. It has already been given to the state, so there is no action needed for this report. It's purely informational, so feel free to ask questions as we go along. I have no problem with that. But as we go, annual water supply and demand assessment. Background, like I said, the annual water supply and demand assessment is due to the state July 1st of every year. We began in 2022, so this is our 3rd year. The purpose of this report is to determine water reliability for the next fiscal year. I mean, next fiscal year being the fiscal year we actually are in now, but 24-25, and we're going to assume that's a single dry year condition, and we'll talk about dry year conditions. Well, how we gather this assessment, first of all, Stetson Engineering is the one that completes this assessment. They're also the ones that put together our 2020 Urban Water Management Plan. That's convenient, as this is the guiding document for our water sustainability. Particularly Section 7, if you guys do want to go and check this out, is where we find a lot of the base models for this report. Historical documentation, weather, precipitation, things like that come from that part of it. But that's what they use primarily. We also use the electronic annual report that I conduct every year. It's a demand and some production in that report. It goes to the state. We also use our water loss audit. It's kind of the difference between our demand, what the citizens use, and what we produce. And then monthly consumption of our meters, so what actually goes through our meters. The assessment itself is a 2024-2025 dry year condition. It's based on our Urban Water Management Plan. There's 5 tables, information on the city, the anticipated demand they think we're going to use, the supply that we have for water. The shortage assessment section would be the difference between the supply and the demand. So this is the section where they come in, they look and they go, do we have enough water to meet the anticipated demand? If we do, we have a presentation like we're having right now. We talk about it. So I'm blowing my report, but we're having this presentation because of that. The response actions, if we did have something, if they said our supply did not meet our demand, our anticipated demand, this response action would be here. They would recommend, and I would be before you more probably in a public hearing or something to that effect, talking about what the council wants to do based on those reactions. So, glad to be here in a presentation form. Availability of your water. We have adjudicated rights to 940 acre feet of water through the Raymond Basin. Every acre foot after that I have to import and put into our spreading basins. It gives you a number up there, but I will tell you we use, even on our driest years, around 1,500 acre feet when we import. So availability and compared to what we use is a little different, but it does give you the number about 3,400 acre feet we have available. Sorry, that's
Superintendent McGee, what was our supply last year, if you recall?
I do have a, so our,
coming?
yeah, well, so I give you a little bit of our production right here.
Oh, there we go.
So to give you this, so it's the last 7 fiscal years. I apologize it's so small. I am not a PowerPoint whiz. But it does give you the last 7 fiscal years of our production. We do around 2,200 to 2,400 acre feet on average. I will direct the council member to the last 2 years though, where we did drop down 2 years ago drastically in our production of water, and I'll kind of get to that next slide. And then we bounced back up a little bit, but we are still kind of below that production that we're used to seeing over the course of at least my time being here.
But on the supply side, from what I recall, our number wasn't that large last year.
So
is adjudicated rights increased, or is it pretty much what we were last year?
So no, to answer the council member is asking what our adjudicated supply is. It's 940 acre feet. It's been that, and our
that's right, yeah. But
our rights to SGV MWD are 2,500. So no, our supply has stayed the same in the last 2 years.
Okay.
But we just have to import after the 940 every acre foot after that. We have to import. So we have to pay for it in layman's terms. But I just, like I said, I did want to show you these production numbers because I particularly want to move to the next phase, and this is rain. Rain does play an important role in this report. As I said, Section 7 of the Urban Water Management Plan does talk about precipitation. It does talk about the anticipation of historical and what we're going to do in the future. If you can see our rain, it does go in fives. So the 3 lines in the middle, I think this has 3 lines in the middle are basically below 20 inches of rain. That would consist of 3 consecutively dry years. And then we can see we jump way up in the green line. That's 48 inches of rain. 48 inches of rain, what we did in that season. And we come back down to a still historical, believe it or not, 27 inches we did last year when you go back to back like that. So yes, in Southern California, 27 inches of rain is considered historic. But
So is 20 inches, is that considered the average?
so based on the last 7 years we have, but the Urban Water Management Plan would have an actual average of what we do, but we give you an average every year of what we've done at the city yard. But yes, if we go back in my research, if I went back more years than this, it sits pretty consistently below 20.
And is that 20, is that the dry year line?
No, it's not the dry year line. It's just that's the most we've done in recent years on those dry year conditions. We've had as little as 7 in certain years.
So what would you consider a dry year then, in rain?
I'd say below 20, yes.
Okay.
I'd say anything below 20 is what we consider we're talking about October to September. We're talking about a year. And we're doing 20 inches of rain in that span. 48 inches of rain, we'll show you how that kind of impacts. I mean, so we can go back, for the council member, we can go back to this and show, 1,989 acre feet of water. I told you we reduced from 2,415. That's 426 acre feet of water right there. I could give you acre feet, which I did. I can give you gallons. They're big numbers. I can give you cubic feet. I'll give primarily everybody their billing units here. Everybody has a unit of water on their bill. 1 unit is 100 cubic feet, correct? Well, that 426 equivalates to about 185,000 units of water that did not go through somebody's metered consumption. So I know I'm not answering your question with the average of the rain. I'm just strictly trying to show you what rain does for us. The residents here recognize, and this is to the residents recognize that we pump to demand. We pump to demand, and we were able to reduce based on, in my opinion, that's usually irrigation being turned off, understanding that we're having raining events, turning off your irrigation, and in my tenure, I've never seen a reduction that grand. That's 15 years. Jose's been here about as long as I have too. But I just wanted to show you, I could get you a better number on the average itself, but it is in that Urban Water Management Plan in Section 7. But I did want to show you that and what the residents have done, and I want to praise the residents for that. We bounced back a little bit to 2,100 acre feet, but still underneath what we normally do. Show you the rain again just to show you kind of what our staff has done. So this is a water level. I'm going to explain the water levels kind of like a cup. Your well sits at the top of a cup, and a straw goes into that cup. Where your straw touches water is our static water level when the wells are not running. So when I first got here, my first little time here, we were touching water at 350 feet. And it dramatically got worse to the point where we had to start importing water, if we remember correctly. Of the last couple of years, recent years, we've been sitting around 333, 330. 2020, we got to 300 feet where we were touching water, but we bounced back up. But I also want to pay attention is the 2 last years when we've had this raining event, we have been able to increase the water level by over 100 feet. We're sitting at 206 right now when we're touching water. And that is, I'm going to praise my staff, especially my foreman, Tim Hunsiger. He's basically sacrificed his entire life being up in those spreading basins, making sure we're getting all available water to those spreading basins and spreading on a consistent basis. I've been here, like I said, 15 years, and I've never seen the basins consistently full like they've been in the last couple of years. So high praise to our water staff for doing that, but just showing you that the rain does have an effect on this report, but it does have effect on this city and what this city does. Don't always take what this report says into what we do as a city.
We've got the 500-foot rule, right?
Exactly.
Can you talk a little bit about the 500-foot rule and kind of a little bit of the history on that?
So I will go basic on it, and then I will defer to our city manager, who still sits upon the Raymond Basin, and he can talk a little bit about it. But I won't put you on the spot there. But if you talk about elevation compared to where our wells are and to where the water is, we want to see a 500-foot rule based on. Right now we sit at 206. We're almost from where our elevation is to where we sit with water, we're almost above a 500-foot level. But I'll let Jose kind of speak a little bit more to that.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for that question. So our basin is an adjudicated basin, which means that there's a court ruling that determines how much water and under what conditions water can be pulled out of the basin. In that adjudication, there's a stipulation that if water level drops below 500 feet mean sea level, that Sierra Madre's ability to extract water from our groundwater basin is reduced from 1,764 acre feet to 940 acre feet. And that's the condition that we're in right now. One of the things that Stephen talked about was the dedication and the commitment of our staff and the relationships that we built with LA County and our ability to call on them to import water and to bring water from, not import water, to divert water from the Sandy Dam to Sierra Madre. And that's critical and that's really important. And the work that Tim does to make sure that every drop available makes it to our spreading basins has helped us raise those water levels. In addition to that, we import every acre foot of water that we pump in excess of 940 acre feet, we import and we recharge the groundwater level. And that helps maintain the groundwater levels in our basin. So when you combine those two efforts of our groundwater management strategy and our ability to import water, the relationships that we have with LA County, the City of Arcadia, and the Raymond Basin Management Board, and the plans that we've been able to put in place have helped us raise the groundwater levels, both naturally through natural recharge and what we call artificially with imported water. I hope that answers your question.
And so we're now above that 500-foot level, right?
So we look at the basin two ways. We look at it, if the basin were to naturally recharge, where would it be? And where is the basin with the natural recharge and the supplemental water that we bring in? So because we are bringing in so much supplemental water and that factors into where the groundwater levels are, we are still operating under the 500-foot. So the City of Arcadia and the City of Sierra Madre are still limited in the water they can extract, because one of the main reasons why the water level is where it is because we're paying to bring in water. And we want to make sure that that water is there to serve both communities, but also recognize that without that water, we would still be in the under the 500-foot.
But right now, we're technically, we could pull more than 940, right? Because we're above the 500-foot.
So the measurement is taken every April by an independent engineer, Stetson Engineers, who also does a lot of work for us. They are the engineer for the Raymond Basin Management Board. They take a reading of key wells in our area to determine if we are above the 500-foot rule, and that determines for the year our pumping ability. When they took that reading in April, we were below the 500-foot rule, and that set the limit for the entire year. So every year it will be taken in April to determine at the end of, or in the middle of spring, when we see the water levels are typically higher, what that will allow pumping, how that will allow pumping for the rest of the year.
How does the level now compare to how it's been historically?
As Superintendent McGee stated, I've never seen water levels at this height. In my time here and looking at the history, I think that these are perhaps the highest water levels that we've had in the recorded history that I can look back and reflect on.
And about how long is that?
I would say probably at least back into the 80s.
We can talk about 37 years because we bring back the old director. He could probably give you a time where it was somewhere similar to this, but it was maybe once. But right. We're seeing, and happy for me and Jose to see it, is we're seeing historically high levels at our aquifer. So I really wanted to break that point home. But I will say to Jose's point too is you got to remember we've got to be able to continuously be able to put that water into the ground, and as you can see back on this, we tend to dip down in the rain. And this has everything to do with rain. I can't get as much water from Santa Anita or our local water if we don't have some supply water injecting itself somewhere back in the foothills, and we're able to capture that water. I've never seen the water consistently in the spreading basins. I see people walk by all the time and go, hey, there's still water in there, and that's because I've lived here, or my family's lived here for so many years, and it's never always full. So I think you being residents too have probably never seen it always full too. So really wanted to just drive that home that we have done a lot of work to try to get it to that point.
And I appreciate you saying that, because that's where I was trying to go with the questions. Is that, like, you can see that, like, if you just walk up and you see the creeks running are running all the time because we're pulling it down from the dam. And so I think that, it's really impressive the work that you've done to try to enhance the supply that we've got. So kudos to you and all the staff.
And I'll pass that on to staff, because they really, honestly, Tim was really the man doing a lot of the work, but well, I'll take credit.
Quick question.
Yep,
But
please.
like I said, how we keep that rain is really an issue. But we'll talk about the 2024-2025 water plans. Like I said, single dry year conditions, and we said we base that on single dry year conditions because it's always a dry year condition. They're always going to say, hey, we're in a dry year condition, but historic rainfall totals will basically bop us down into that single dry year every year until we start seeing multiple years of dry year. When we first started this report, we were in the third dry year condition already. So we do see that, but based on that, the projection is 2441 for how much acre foot they think we're going to have to, the demand. We've shown that we have the supply for that.
I think Councilmember Goss has a question.
Sir?
Not a serious question. I was just wondering if our spreading basins are going to be full all the time. What are the chances of us stocking them with large amounts of bass, something like that?
That's a different department,
Well,
Councilmember.
I've got it's somewhat
I
the
walk
same
by
department.
there, it looks like a bass pond to me.
So I'll get the question answered, council member and the mayor's, saying that I get the call whether we're going to have water for the fishing derby. I've heard yes, but it's something to do with the fish. It has to do with the fish.
Right.
So water, will we have water? Yeah, it looks like that. We will have water. I'm hearing, Jose and I hear things through our meetings, the possibility of another wet season. Cross your fingers. But we should have the water. We would make the water available at that time. Though. We'll find a way. But
Superintendent McGee, if I may, Councilmember Goss, so, and I hate to steal some of your thunder.
I was going to say, there's so much of,
Oh.
you're previewing all of the things that people are going to hear on Thursday, and you should have your staff come on Thursday too.
no problem.
But we are planning to bring back the Huck Fin, and we will be working with the county to make sure that providing that we have rain, that we can store the water behind the dam to release it for that event. We also have the distinct honor of having one of a world-renowned climatologist that lives in town and is part of our Natural Resources Commission, and him and I talk regularly, and we talk about weather patterns and the El Nino and La Nina events. And over the summer, it was a little bit disappointing to see that conditions were La Nina, heading for a dry. And I just reached out to him last week and I said, looks like it's turned and it looks more neutral. And he replied to me and he says, Jose, it looks like La Nada, which means that we don't know. It could be a dry year, it could be a wet year. So we're hoping for a wet year and not a dry year, but we'll be working with the county to make sure that we have water for that event.
So I heard the expression 3 and 10, and we heard this last meeting, 3 and 10 and 7 and 10. Every 7 and 10 years in California is dry, 3 and 10 years is wet. Where those land, flip a coin,
Madam Mayor, may I follow up
Yes,
on
please.
what Mayor Pro Tem's line of questioning? So, and I'm thinking this kind of on a long-term policy issue. So if we're thinking about our water levels within the East Raymond Basin, which we share with our partner Arcadia, a wonderful partner. We've had a great relationship with water with the city of Arcadia. Do they have the same policy that we have as far as if we're bringing in imported water, that I don't even know if they have the ability to spread water and recharge the basin as well, or is the city of Sierra Madre the only one doing that?
So we are the only ones that have the ability to divert water and spread water. LA County will spread water in LA County spreading basins. That water goes to the general benefit of the basin, but nobody claims those rights.
So my feeling here is that we have the policy of looking at the natural recharge rather than the artificial recharge, because we're the ones that are doing the spreading and not the entirety of the people that have straws in the East Raymond Basin. Is that accurate?
That is correct, and that's something that we've been driving at the Raymond Basin, understanding that the calculation must be done under natural recharge, not the supplemental water that gets.
If we were the only ones doing it, I would say, hey, let's for policy's sake. But I think since we are sharing that basin and we're the only ones spreading, that's the way to look at it. So kudos to you for that management plan.
And is that because Arcadia has an allocation that they don't exceed? Or they also exceed, they're just not under the same obligation to recharge?
Arcadia is also, when the 500-foot rule is enacted, they also have to reduce their pumping. I don't remember what their adjudicated right is, but they are also obligated to reduce pumping. And credit to Arcadia, both Arcadia and Sierra Madre were good partners in this, and they have year after year reduced and pumped less than their full adjudicated right.
They have met. They're able to take from the Met, right?
They can take from Metropolitan, and they also have straws in the main San Gabriel Basin, so they can pull water from the main basin and the Raymond Basin.
So when we talk about the joint well project, they will have a well that dips that straw into the main San Gabriel Basin, so that they do have both straws, yes.
Thank you.
Moving on to drought responses, we don't have a drought response at this point, meaning that you as council do not have to enact any kind of phase for the water. We're in where the water supply is good. Governor Gavin Newsom did do an act in phasing in 2022, but he basically took us right out of it in 2023. It was about an 8-month period that we were in it, phase 2, but council's had to do nothing, and that's awesome in my book. This is what phases would look like. I don't expect you to read it, just it's the table actually taken directly from your water shortage contingency plan. It's 6 phases. Phase 1 has got some up to 10% and some general water restrictions, and then up to 6 is greater than 50% reduction. I will show you what we do have, and we do have Ordinance 1446, which is in our municipal code, where those 9 basic common sense elements that we talk about every year when we get to this are already in our municipal code as permanent water restrictions. Conservation efforts, there's simple things like putting restrictors on your hose, not watering ornamental turf, things like that. These are things we did first as a city, and these are enacted in this report. So our report shows that we do these things, and it reduces acre footage.
How do these connect to the tiers? Where would that put us in the tiers?
In the tier system?
Yeah. So you said that the governor put in a tier 2 restriction, which is a 20% reduction.
Yeah.
We're not required to have those 8 or 10 items that you listed there. And yeah, so we're not required to have these by the state. We're taking these as a leadership role to go above it. Would this then translate into one of the tiers on the previous slide?
So this is tier 1. Tier 1 is the tier 1 plus 10% is what it is. So
Okay.
you can do this plus the up to 10% in tier 1 if you want to do. We implemented this before that went into any kind of phase. So when the governor actually did that and put all the state of California, we'd already done this. Yes, I believe September 2021 is when we did this. So we were ahead of the curve. But yes, this would be part of your phase 1. If we didn't, it's part of your phase always now.
Yeah, so another way of saying that is if for some reason the governor enacted a phase 1, we would not have to take any action because we're already doing all of those things.
We are enacting certain parts of phase 1. If you as a council got the recommendation from this report and it said you better reduce 10%,
yeah,
it would be your choice. This whole thing is to show you that if we ever get to those actions, if we ever get to these actions based on the report, it is you, Madam Mayor, that will make those decisions.
got it. Thank you.
And are those shortage levels based on California snowpack or other precipitation, or is it a function of all kinds of water issues, usage and?
Those are based on your urban water management plan we do every 5 years, and they do take historical precipitation. They take into effect the state of California, what's happening. They can go.
I mean, as far as the governor's decision.
Governor's decisions having to do with how, the snowpack.
snowpack.
Yeah, snowpack has things to do with it. The water level availability. It puts all urban water suppliers into that phase.
Okay.
Even if Sierra Madre, let's say Sierra Madre is fine, it puts us all into it as a state. He rarely does it. He did it this time because we were at that end of that 3rd-year drought, and then we had the 48 inches of rain, and he was probably jumping for joy. But yes, we were in it for a little time based on a lot of information that he gets. Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Superintendent McGee, may I expand a little bit?
Sure.
So every year we take multiple measurements of the snowpack, And based on the snowpack, the state will release a certain allocation of water from the Colorado River, from the state water project that comes down the California aqueduct. The minimum is 5% allocation. Our district, I believe, gets 28,000 acre feet. They need a minimum of, I believe it's 12 to 15,000 acre feet to meet the needs of the 4 cities. So providing that the allocation exceeds the 15% of the amount of water that can be released to the California aqueduct, the district can meet everybody's needs. So it is based on the measurement that they take of the snowpack that releases the allocation for the state water project. So understanding that we only have 940 acre feet, but our demand is 21 to 2,400 acre feet. Our council took action to say water is a valuable and precious resource. We're going to make level 1 permanent. So all of our residents have to take these basic common sense approaches to conserving water. So those are already, for the most part, in place. I don't know if anything's been updated or changed, but at the time, it was a level 1, and they're basically common sense approaches to water conservation.
Thank you.
And it reduces about 143 acre feet of water as they produce. You know.
And when do they make, so the last snowpack measurement is in April, is that right? So when do they make that water allocation? Is that in May?
So, do you recall the exact date?
I believe it was May, yeah.
So they will change it as the snowpack condition changes, but the last one is in April. Then shortly after that, we'll get the notification from our water district on what the state is going to.
So we got basically our full allocation this last year.
I don't recall if it was 100%. The number that sticks out in my head was 80%, but that far exceeds what the district needs. So what the district will do is they will bring in their full allocation and they will store it in the main basin for dry years.
And so that 100% is basically on our adjudicated rights, right? The historic land use is that's what our rights are to the water if it's available. And then the state in April goes and looks at, or they look at the snowpack and they say, all right, how much do we really have? Because the adjudicated rights are based on you know, back in the 19th century. And they say, okay, this is what we've got, and this is what how we're going to divvy it up. Is that generally accurate?
So it's two things, right? So the city of Sierra Madre is part of an adjudicated basin, court order that says this is how much water you get. We're also members of the San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District, where there's 4 member agencies. They were formed by the 4 member agencies to be a contractor or a partner to the state water project. And on behalf of the 4 cities, they can bring down up to 28,000 acre feet. It's the district's job to provide supplemental water to each one of these agencies in excess of their adjudicated right. So if we fall short, you know, if we pump 940 and we need that extra water, that's where the district responsibility comes in to provide that supplemental water. And they do that for the city of Sierra Madre, the city of Azusa, the city of Alhambra, and the city of Monterey Park.
And are those water rates market-based, or do they have kind of like a fee schedule regardless of what's going on in the open market for water?
So it's much like I would say like our water rates. There's fixed charges that need to be considered to keep the lights on at the district, and then there's also the commodity charge. So
I mean, as far as our district purchasing from the state water project, does that water purchase price fluctuate depending on supply, or we just get a the district gets less adjudicated right, and they don't increase the price during dry years?
So the district has been able to hold the price of imported water pretty steady, roughly between $190 and $200. In the last year, they approved a minor increase over the next, I think, 3 to 5 years.
It is.
And it's going to go to $220, then $230, then up to about $240. And so we pay twice that, so we double that charge. But when we compare that cost to what other agencies pay, other agencies that are part of the Metropolitan Water District are paying in excess of $1,000 per.
Oh, I remember when we sold our cyclical water storage, the amount of money we were able to get per acre feet was ridiculous relative to what we're paying, so, yeah.
And the district was willing to do that because the money that was generated for that was gonna go directly into the joint well, which benefits the district and the other three participating agencies.
That's great, okay, thank you for that.
Now, you said something that I think is really important, because we have to double everything. So for every
acre foot?
For every acre foot we extract, we have to put one in. So we have to buy two for every one that we take out. Is that right?
That's correct.
So this is part of the reason why the water conservation is so important, is that we have to get twice as much water as we actually use whenever we're over that 940.
So Mayor Pro Tem, I'll say when we go and we do the water production, when I showed you these production numbers, we budget for a certain amount of what we anticipate we're going to do. In these years where we reduced heavily, we save money. Yeah, we're not having to put the money that we budgeted thinking we're going to get that into bringing water in where we have it already. So that's, yeah, we save money not having to pay the double up.
What's really important about what you said is it's very expensive to import water, even at the $440 acre foot that we pay. When we initiated this agreement with the district, water level and water scarcity was not as big an issue as it is now. So that agreement made a lot of sense, for the water district, because water was plentiful. And over the course of the drought that we experienced, it really changed to where water became scarce, and the advantage that the city had was lost, because the city then was, the district was then not able to bring in the full amount to meet Sierra Madre's needs plus the other 4 member agencies. So years like this year, or years like the last year and the year before, where we're able to bring in that water, really help offset some of those costs. But drought conditions put a lot of strain on the district's ability to bring in the water for all 4 agencies. Again, another reason why it's important for agencies like Sierra Madre to recognize that we're importing a very valuable, very precious resource, and implement an ordinance.
Great, thank you.
So we'll conclude the report, and just Stetson Engineering has concluded that we will have sufficient water supply to meet the anticipated demand. We do have already response actions in the Ordinance 1446 imposed in that report. Conservation measures we still have. I want to point out just AMI portal again. Please get on AMI portal, seeing your water, seeing what it does. I really do think that had a lot of emphasis on people being able to reduce their water a lot of times, being able to see it. Let's remember, it was a 2-month period before you saw your water bill before, and now you could see it now. So I do want everybody to continue to get on. I still think we only have about 900 people on that, so please get on AMI portal. And these 72-hour notices, I like this too, because this is a report that we can generate through AMI, and if your water is running for a greater amount of time than 72 hours, we'll generate a report in the middle of the month and basically go put a door hanger on, letting you know there's something going on.
Yeah, I wanna actually emphasize that, because folks might be like, I don't wanna look at my water every day, like, why do I need to be on the AMI? Personally, I have gotten 2 door knockers saying, hey, you've had 48 hours or 72 hours of continuous water, and then we walk through our property and figure out what's leaking. Is it a toilet? Is it a hose bib? And we know that within 3 days versus a month or 2 later. So it doesn't have to be just you monitoring it. If you're on AMI, the utility is also monitoring it and will tell you when you have problems at your house. And so it's been a lifesaver for us twice.
And it can also, you can put triggers on it to say that if something's happened, you can get an email. Can you get a text message? I can't remember.
I believe text messages. Oh yeah.
So you can even get to that level of sophistication if you want to try to make sure you're on top of it. So it's a great system. And I know that right now, I think in our warrants, there's a good chunk of money that we're spending with Aquametric. It's a 6-figure number of trying to invest in those meters and keep them there, and those pay for themselves every single year. It's a great investment. We're one of the leaders in doing that. And so I want to congratulate, the team and the leadership of like being one of the pioneers in that, and continue, encourage you to continue thinking about that going forward.
Accurate meter consumption too is a big one of that. You can see, on seeing it that, new meters in, being able to see it gives you accurate numbers. You've seen our water loss audits, we presented them to you before. They've gone from 30% down to, I believe, 11% was the last time we had, so it works. They do work, they help, but I do want to emphasize what the mayor said, we are not Big Brother. I am not here to watch your water meter every single day. I do not have the staff for it, and I don't want to do that. That's not the point of it. The point was to give you as the community the ability to see your meter. I'm not looking at it until you call me and say, Stephen, can you help me out with this? 100% of course, but that's not what we're here for.
The Greywater workshop, do you have dates for that?
I do not, no.
Okay. And so you've got it there. Is it planned? When would you?
We can reach out to Evelyn and see if we can get an accurate time for you.
I'm sorry. It's from the water district. Yeah, I think we should try to look at those and try to do that.
Absolutely. She's very good. Evelyn is very good at reaching out to us when we have these projects and things going on.
And then the second bullet on there, the free outdoor irrigation inspection installation. There used to be a rebate of something substantial on replacing sprinkler heads, like up to $1,000, I want to say.
I'll check in. It does come and go.
Okay.
It does come and go. I just wanted to put up, these are things that we have in the past done with them water workshops. We can do it. We have a social media, and I will have, if we have those, I will have Jen put those out on the social media. She's pretty good at that anyway. But yes, please look at the City Public Works social media. We do put things like that up when they come about. And then that's the conclusion of my report. A little lengthier, but I think water usually generates that kind of lengthy conversation. I will answer any questions, or if you have any other questions for City Manager Reynosos.
I have one more. So the urban water management plan, we look at kind of it does a future forecasting. I can't remember how many years it goes out, but it goes out significantly in the future. But it's based on the past, right? And we all know we're in a warming climate. And this is not a city thing, this is a state thing. But as representatives and as leadership on our water board and all that, I'd love to know, like, what's the state doing to try to update the models and try to think about, we can't be forecasting supply based on models that no longer apply. And I think it's something that we need to continue pushing our state representatives, our state agencies of, like, and maybe they already are. So let me ask you this question. What are they doing to think about that?
I have nothing that I've seen. I mean, I'm positive they're doing something. When we talk about how we do the modeling here, I can speak to that. And as we told you, the urban water management plan, that's kind of what they do there. They take and they look 5 years, 10 years. They have model up to 25 years based on precipitation, things like that. But correct, they use historic modeling. They use our history, but it's fairly local history. It's not looking back to, I think you said something on 1800, something like that a little while ago. They're looking, I believe the last 14 years is what they look back into. But as far as the state, what are they doing? I'm positive they're doing something climate-wise to looking at, we'll defer to City Manager Reynosos.
No, I shake my head because it's just so complicated, and we have so many issues that we're facing with water reliability, and it's really based, a lot of it is based on new supply and infrastructure reliability and sustainability. We have the Pure Water project that we're talking about sending water to Commerce, having it treated, then having it pumped back up the San Gabriel River and using that water for recharge. We have new dam projects that are being contemplated in the Central Valley. We have the Twin Tunnel projects, and all of these look at reliability and sustainability and long-term reliability and sustainability. So there's just so much, and it's just so complicated. But those are great questions, and I'm happy to pick your brain a little bit more because I do have access to resources that can provide more information, and I can share that with Stephen. And actually, Stephen goes to those meetings with me now, and so he's learning a lot of that. And so we'll be sure to implement some of that into our next water presentation.
When's our next urban water management plan update? Is it 27?
We're gonna start, it's 2020 was the last time we put it out, so we'll put it out, we'll start the process
Next
actually
year.
now.
Yeah.
Probably have it to the council by middle of the year next year, yes.
Okay.
Any more
other
questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you,
That's
everybody.
great. All right, so our third and final presentation from our Public Works Director, Inez, to give an update on the library improvement project.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. This past August 27th, the big oak tree at the library was removed, as some of you may be aware. This was part of the post-preliminary construction phase. After further review and study by arborists and along with city staff, along with myself and engineers involved, the tree had caused significant damage to the existing foundation of the library and would have continued to cause further damage upon completion of the new structure. Arborist study did find that the root system was pretty intense, pretty strong root system in there that was continuing to develop. Upon discussion with internal staff along with the administration, we have doubled mitigation in planting 20 trees. 20 new trees will be planted throughout town in public areas, kind of make up for it. The city is currently, right now this week, the city is currently bidding out, going out to bid for the general construction contractor. The bids will be closing this Friday the 13th at 4 p.m. In the past, we had this coming Thursday the 12th. This last minute decision was made to be moved 24 hours later to Friday the 13th at 4 p.m. This is due to an amendment that went out today is early yesterday. In order for fair bidding practices, 72-hour time frame needs to be applied. So this is where the additional day comes in, to be fair for the other potential bidders. Upon the closing of the bid on Friday, I, along with additional staff, will be meeting over the weekend to go over the bids and process them and make a decision. Upon my findings, I will make my recommendation to the city manager, Mr. Jose Reynoso, with the potential finalist. At this time, this concludes my report. I will happily address any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Just to clarify, so we've got it's the tree out front that it's. Can you describe that again? I was just a little unclear about what tree is being removed and the conditions of that, the health of that tree and the impact it's having.
Yes, sir. The tree was removed. It was
already removed.
The huge oak. If you were looking at the library, beautiful oak right outside the library there. Unfortunately, it needed to be removed.
On the boulevard side.
On the boulevard side, that is correct.
Yeah, okay.
And this was due to continuing damage to the existing foundation and then further damage that will be caused to the new building structure.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may add, Director Inez pointed out that we did have an arborist conduct an independent, a third-party arborist conduct an independent review of that oak tree. They determined that the oak tree was going to grow for an additional 100 years.
Correct.
Is that correct? And it was within, I would say, half an inch of coming in contact with the structure, but the root system had already caused some damage to the existing foundation, and left there would continue to cause damage to the foundation. So it was just a matter of time before that tree was going to be impacting the structure. We had already had impact on the foundation. The last thing we want to do is remove any trees, especially an oak tree. It's only done as a measure of last resort.
And was this, so with our tree policy, we're trying to maintain these heritage trees, like you said. Its typical life would be 100 years. What does our policy say about removing those trees? What are the decision points we made how do we make this difficult decision?
And I'm happy to bring up Management Analyst Carlson, who is our tree expert.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Our tree preservation and protection code applies to the city as well as it does any private contractor, any kind of development. If there is a protected tree that's to be removed, we would obtain an arborist report explaining why, explaining the health of the tree, condition of the tree, relative value of the tree. All of those go into the decision. A 10-for-1 mitigation is pretty much the top end for a heritage tree, for an extremely valuable oak tree. We decided, because of the love for this tree, that we would double that. And so that's pretty much how the process goes.
Any further questions? Oh,
Really quickly, hello, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor Krebs, and our City Council. It's Layla Reagan, the City Librarian. I did want to mention that though the tree was cut down, it is currently at a mill, so it will be turned into something else to go into the renovated library. So, gone but not forgotten. So I just wanted to mention.
thank you. That's very helpful. I appreciate that. Any further questions about the update?
I had one other, so just a question, we've got the Library Foundation, the Library Board, and the Friends of the Library. When's the last time you've met with each of those three organizations?
I meet monthly with the Library Board of Trustees, along with meeting with this council here at every meeting.
Okay.
During the Library Board of Trustees, there will be in attendance, perhaps Friends of the Library, other members of the community who may have questions, which I'm very happy to address at the conclusion of those meetings. But that's been maybe last month, with the month of August.
So you're meeting with the board monthly, and you've got the Friends and the Foundation that are there as
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything further? Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks.
Okay, so I know we moved the agenda up to address the commission appointments. I think it might make sense, given where we're at in time. We have about 5 minutes or so before we're going to adjourn to go outside and hear the horn. Maybe if we have our present applicant, rather, who's here, if he or she wants to make a statement, I'm happy to do that now, and then maybe we'll do the actual discussion after our recess.
Madam Mayor, we do have a speaker card who is also from one of the applicants, Jane Nelson.
Ms. Nelson, did you want to speak?
Hello, my name's Jade Nelson. I applied to be on the Natural Resources opening position, and then when I called the city just to confirm they'd received my application, they said, well, I should come and talk to you and introduce myself, so I'm doing that right now.
Thank you.
I've lived here for 26 years. I'm a child therapist, and in my spare time, I work as a docent up at Bailey Canyon, and then I've since gotten to know Ann Palmer, who's on the Parks Commission, and I've been trying to facilitate better communication and cooperation to make things run more smoothly and have communication be better. I've been since gotten a little bit more engaged and interested in what's going on in the city, and just I'm enjoying this whole process of participating. And so I wanted to sort of take the next step and volunteer my time on a committee, on a commission. So I'm a therapist by profession, but I'm a naturalist. I'm really interested in natural resources. I am a good communicator. I like making sure that I hear everybody and develop consensus, and I don't know, I'm interested in devoting some more time to the city of Sierra Madre that I love, and that's why I applied for this position. So I just wanted to say hello and put a face to a name, and if you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions? No, I appreciate you coming. Thanks very much for your statement.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, I did have my alarm set to sound a horn at 6:55, but why don't we go ahead and adjourn now, and then I guess we will have a indeterminate return time after, some moments after the horn.
Who's taking the picture?
Yeah, Pat or Dee, take the photo for us?
Oh, Isaac, from, CMF.
Oh, Isaac, is he
No,
back there? It's okay, I'll come to do it. Okay, we're probably get everybody in.
Everybody like take a step
Like prom picture?
Yeah.
You're taller, you should be in the back.
I know, I'm trying to, but I'm stuck right there. She's always back.
Oh, wait, she'll take it. I will, please, I'll take it. Come in. Come over here. Okay. I'm coming.
Break.
Yeah, I got one of those mac and cheeses. And then we shut them off and then we couldn't do it. That's lots of you. We didn't hear it. Then we were movable. Yeah.
Back in the day.
Decide when we stopped. Remember when we stopped? Well, gave us.
Stop what?
Like doing it on Fridays.
I don't know why we stopped it.
Do you want to continue on with that item, or do you want to go back to consent?
No, let's, let me ask.
No, the first time I heard it. And then maybe, then you can give a report.
I wanted to see, I think
We reopen our.
But that was nice.
Public
Yeah.
comments.
Okay, we're gonna come back to order. Hopefully you heard it, I did not, but that's because we were socializing with the folks over at the Park House, which we made them all come outside to listen to it, and none of us heard it, so. Either time, apparently they had them do it twice. So anyway, that was a good break. But we're gonna continue public comment for the commissioner appointment item. I wanna make sure if there's anybody else, any other applicants that are here tonight that want to make public comment and a statement about their candidacy, to give them that opportunity. It appears not. So I will close public comment, and I skipped over the city clerk's report on this item, so we're gonna backtrack to that, and then we'll have discussion amongst the council.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This evening, the City Council is being asked to consider an appointment to the Natural Resources Commission. There is currently one vacancy on the commission. The vacancy was left when Commissioner Lim completed her first full term and did not seek a reappointment. So the term for this seat is from July of 2024, and it'll last 4 years through June 30th, 2028. The city clerk's office received 7 applications for this one vacancy. Those applications were forwarded to the city council for consideration. The applications in alphabetical order are from Daniel Gonzalez, Shane Henson, Roya Miller, Jane Nelson, David Robinson, Wendy Thermos, and Con Vuong. The city council is asked to discuss an appointment to the Natural Resources Commission and make their recommendation to the mayor, who may at her discretion appoint or give direction to city staff to continue the recruitment to fill the vacancy. Madam Mayor, that completes my report.
Does anybody have any questions for the city clerk? We've done this before. Thank you. I'm sorry for going out of order. So I will open it up for discussion, having had public comment, and I would entertain anyone's thoughts on the candidates at hand, and reminder that we have the one vacancy.
Madam Mayor?
Please.
So, of the 7, I noted that we've got 4 residents and 3 non-residents. As I understand, and the city clerk can correct me if I'm wrong, the person does not need to be a resident to have the position. Although I think since we've got residents, that would kind of be my preference. We also have a former member of the Natural Resources Commission, David Robinson, who's reapplying. I've taken a look at all of them, and my personal feeling in my top 2 in order would be Ms. Nelson. I think she was very impressive in her presentation tonight. The fact that she is a vice president of SMEAC and is getting involved in things, I think she'd be an excellent addition. And then as a secondary choice, I would probably put up Shane Henson. He's applied to I think this before. I think he shows a real interest in it. I think he would provide an interesting perspective, being a lawyer in it. I think that would be a valuable perspective. But if I were the mayor and I were making a choice, I would choose Jane Nelson.
Thank you very much for your input.
I'll go next.
Please, Councilmember Goss.
Yeah, I kind of sorted things out like you did, Mayor Pro Tem. I'd like to see David Robinson back on there. He's certainly did a great job first time around. We do have new blood that wants to get on. I think we always try to get new people on if we have those resumes available, then we do this time. So I'd have to pass on him this time. I'd rate them Shane Henson and Jane Nelson, very close. I got to know Shane over the last few months, and he's a very impressive young guy and very capable. And but I think you're right about Jane Nelson. I think she made a good impression tonight, and I always appreciate somebody who shows up. So it's real close, but that would be my rating.
Thank you. And I'm just one clarification. Sorry. Did we actually invited all of the applicants to come? I don't want to give undue weight to Ms. Nelson's presence if we did not necessarily give the opportunity to all.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All the applicants were notified that the City Council would be discussing an appointment tonight, and they were told that it is not mandatory for them to attend the meeting, but that the option was there for attending the public meeting if they wanted to.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
That's okay. I was in agreement about Jane Nelson, and she was my first choice when I ran through the different candidates for multiple reasons. One, I liked her enthusiasm. I like that she's been here, for a fair amount of years, and she's already working with the environmental groups that we have, and I think that's a great collaboration. My second choice would be David Robinson again.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a like mind of the council. I was impressed with Ms. Nelson and her involvements with SMEAC. I think we have another resident that was a docent with SMEAC as well. Shane Henson has been persistent, and I like that. It's nice to have, and I've touted you, Madam Mayor, it's nice to have an attorney around when there are regulations being handed down, and I think we will see that with our natural resources issues, things such as wildlife management or water issues or any other things that needs to be looked at. It's nice to have somebody with a Juris Doctorate around to kind of pick through some of that legalese as well. So, I know I'm being a little wishy-washy here, but and David Robinson would be great to have back with the experience as well. So. I know I'm not giving you a ranked order, but again, I sat in that seat once, and I know how it is. So that's kind of my feedback. And yeah, I think it's wonderful that we have people that are outside of being residents interested in sitting on our commissions, and some of them have some impressive resumes. But I would lean to give an opportunity to somebody that really understands this community. Through the fact of being a resident, a little more, little elevation to their CV before a non-resident personally.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Yes, I've made no mystery that this is my least favorite mayoral duty, and now I get to do it twice. But I appreciate everybody's feedback, and I mean, I really want to thank the outpouring of applicants. I mean, it's really impressive. This is my fourth year of my term, and at the beginning, we routinely had open applications sit with no applicants for many months, and so this has really been an amazing turnaround in terms of the enthusiasm from the community. I think we're doing a better job on the staff, with staff to get the word out that we have these openings, and so there's just really been a great effort all the way around. And so, as usual, as has become the usual, we are blessed with just a overabundance of highly qualified applicants, and it's makes my job very difficult. But I appreciate everybody's feedback, and as has also been the case recently, we are of like mind in terms of a lot of the important decisions that we make, and I wholeheartedly agree that, and I would like to appoint Ms. Nelson as our new commissioner.
Round of applause?
Yeah. We'll get her on that horn volume as her first act. Okay, so going back to the regular order of our agenda, we are moving on to consent.
Madam Mayor, may I ask a question of, I know we've already changed the order. Are we not allowed to change the order again, per se, because our only two speakers tonight are for the one of the very last consent items, or for the
I'm sorry, say that again.
Public hearings? So our speakers, there's only two speakers I think we have tonight, and they're both for the ordinance regulating parking of commercial and recreation vehicles.
Consent calendar is usually pretty quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except for the report, which I suspect you'll need to take a deep breath to do our A through J items.
They are. That's why I read them by title only, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The City Council is being asked to consider 10 items on the consent calendar. The first of is consent item A, and that's consideration of approval of Resolution 24-53, approving certain demands. It is staff's recommendation that the City Council approve Resolution 24-53, ratifying the payment of city warrants. Consent item B is consideration of Resolution 24-54, also approving certain demands. It is recommended that the City Council approve Resolution 24-54, also ratifying payment of city warrants. These two resolutions are for the two meetings that were canceled in August. The third consent item is consent item C. It is consideration of Resolution 24-55, approving certain demands. This is the regular warrant register, and it is recommended that the City Council approve Resolution 24-55, approving the payment of city warrants. Consent item D requires no action. It is the City Council's report for the quarter ending June 30, 2024, and this is a receive and file report. Consent item E is consideration of the professional services agreement with Townsend Public Affairs Incorporated for legislative advocacy and grant writing services. It is recommended that the City Council approve the professional services agreement with Townsend Public Affairs and authorize the city manager to execute all documents related to the agreement. Consent item F is the consideration of purchase of new self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBAs, or as they're also known, for the Sierra Madre Fire Department. It is recommended that the City Council approve the purchase of the self-contained breathing apparatuses in amount not to exceed $187,000. Consent item G is the consideration of approval to purchase 2 new hydraulic gurneys and 1 power loading system for Rescue Ambulance 41, excuse me. It is recommended that the City Council approve the purchase agreement with Stryker Corporation for the procurement of 2 new patient transportation and loading devices in an amount not to exceed $112,000. Consent item H is approval of Resolution 24-52. This is a resolution responding to the Los Angeles County Civil Grand Jury's recommendation to expand Community Emergency Response Team, CERT, training. It is recommended that the City Council approve Resolution 24-52. and this resolution will thereby enhance community preparedness and earthquake safety readiness. The last two consent items, consent item I is the second reading of ordinance number 1471. This is amending chapter 5.36, commercial photography and motion picture filming of Title V, business licenses and regulations, and chapter 17.88, temporary use permits of Title 17 zoning of the Sierra Madre Municipal Code. It is recommended that the City Council conduct its second reading of ordinance 1471 by title only, which we just did, and approve ordinance number 1471. And lastly, consideration of a facility use agreement with Rio Hondo College for the use of their weapons firing range. And the recommendation from staff is that the City Council authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement for a facilities use with Rio Hondo College for the use of their weapons firing range. Madam Mayor, this concludes my report.
Thank you very much. And we'll just go quickly through to see if anyone on council has questions on each item. Any questions on any of the warrants, A, B, and C? Questions on the city treasurer report, item D. Question on item E, which is the Townsend Professional Services Agreement.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, please.
So the report stated that there was going to be a plan that was going to be developed for that. I assume, are we going to see a plan for, I understand that for 23-24 we didn't have a plan. We jumped right on in for the opportunities that were presented to us. Are we going to have a plan for 24-25?
Mayor Pro Tem, thank you for the question. We feel that it's important, it's vital to have a plan. The consultant has met with the entire executive team and has received feedback from each of the team members, and the next task for them is to put that plan together for us so that we can have a plan that is in line with our strategic goals and objectives in our quest for funding and for lobbying services.
Great. Thank you.
Anything further? How about on F, the purchase of the scuba apparatus?
SCBAs. Madam Mayor, may I have a question? Question, are we able to, we have to redo these every certain amount of years. What do we do with the old ones? Are we able to sell those to, say, the academies? Are we able to, is there any?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. That's an excellent question. Thank you for asking it. With the surplus items that we have are no longer in service, they cannot be used in any type of fire situation. So one of the options that we do have is to donate them to a local academy or school. They can use them to actually practice their skills, not in an ideal or immediate life danger situation, but use to perform those skills, you know, in a safe environment.
Would we be able to sell them or just donate them?
So we will be most definitely able to donate them. I'm not sure about the procurement of selling it, that with city rules, but we have donated old equipment in the past, hose, used turnout jackets, so it is a viable option.
So I think this might be a question for our city attorney. I would be concerned with liability of selling SCBAs after they've reached their useful life.
I agree. They're noted past their useful life, so it would be best if they were donated to a circumstance where we know they're going to be used in a safe environment that's not a fire situation, putting whomever's using them at risk.
Thank you so much.
And I had a question, actually. Did you have one?
Yeah, I was going to say, since he's up here, I'd ask. So as far as the our staff that are going to be potentially wearing these through training and through life-saving situations, are these like the most comfortable, the most ergonomic? Was there a consensus that the staff preferred these, or was this just something that Chief or Captain Bustillos decided on? Because I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So during the survey of these SCBAs, we had the three common vendors in LA County, Ellen Cars from the MSA, Scott, and then we also had Draeger. We went through a vigorous, time-consuming analysis of each SCBA. We went through one burn scenario, and we also had the SCBAs for about 4 to 5 months that we used in the back of the station, going through different props, training situations, and it's an overall system analysis of what we had. What we found was the MSA was the most compatible for what we do here in Sierra Madre. The MSA that we chose to go with has direct compatibility with our neighboring agencies, with Arcadia and Monrovia. They also have compatibility for Bluetooth integration, and they also have one thing that's proprietary to them is a safety locator on them. So with our battalion chief coverage that we outsource with in Arcadia, they have the same SCBAs, but they also went further and bought, for lack of a better term, a safety box that can send notifications. They can also track you where you're at in case of any kind of emergency. So if a firefighter did go down, they could also find exactly where that person's at. They could also send safety messages if they had to evacuate. The other SCBAs did not offer that capability, and that was one of the reasons putting the firefighters safety first, why we went with MSA or Ellen Kearns.
Super helpful answer. Thank you.
Thank
Can I
you.
do a follow-up on that?
Yes, please.
So you had 4 people that evaluated the SCBA's, is that right?
No, we had the whole department evaluate. We had the whole department evaluate, and they all filled out a different type of a survey sheet, and was very in depth. It went from breaching walls, just regular throwing on the backpack, comfortability, vision out the mask, crawling around, pulling ceiling. We actually took these through the test, and we found out that the MSA is the most compatible for us.
So there were a couple of surveys that were in the staff report, and I thought there was like 4 or 5 people that had scores across the board, and it was consistent with all but one of the people that were reviewing it. So were those individual? I'm trying to understand what those scores were that were in the report.
So each score was taken into account with each individual person, and then those scores were also set into different shift scenarios. So we have 3 shifts, 5 members in each shift, and we kind of compact them to the most compatible surveys that we thought were the most in-depth details that we put into that data report.
So the surveys that we were seeing in the report were the most detailed surveys that you had for the evaluation?
Yes, sir.
And so you had one person that was consistently differently rated than everyone else. Does that pose any concern for you? Do you think, is that, are there things that we're missing? Or is there someone that is not happy with it? Like, I just want to make sure kind of, as in your evaluation process, how did you deal with that opinion and making sure you considered it in your evaluation?
That's actually a question. That person you're talking about was very familiar with one of the other brands of SCBAs that we were testing out. So they were familiar with it from the get-go. That's something that they grew up with in the fire service. So they were very, very familiar with it, and they kind of wanted to stay with that way. But with the consensus being of the other members wanted to go the other way, we decided to go that way. And since then, that member doesn't have a problem with it. I mean, it's the majority. It's what we feel that's going to be best for the department and best for the citizens of Sierra Madre, and that's why we went that way.
Great. And I'll just say that was an incredibly thorough report that you wrote in here. I learned a lot in it, and I loved the pictures and everything that was in it. So it was just a really stellar job in what you did, and all the detailed appendices on it. So great job. It really helped me make my decision and look at this and educate myself in it.
I appreciate that feedback. It all starts with the leadership in our department and the direction they gave me, and I'm blessed to be able to be allowed to go forward and bring new innovations to this department.
Can I ask you one more question too then, following up with that? How important is it for us to be consistent with our surrounding cities?
So that is a very excellent question, and it's very important for us to be consistent now that we're in automatic aid. Now pretty much Dispatch Without Borders, so we go anywhere in the Verdugo system, and so we need to be able to integrate with whoever we work with, and by purchasing these SCBAs going forward, that will give us the ability to do just that. So there's no more extra fittings that we might have to put on to be compatible. This is going to bring us to the NFPA standard, the forefront of firefighting, and it's going to make that automatic aid transition just even that much better.
Thank you.
Any other questions here? I have a question about this, but not specific to the technology. I just wanted to highlight, or I guess ask the question to highlight that the amount of this purchase is part of the budget that we've already approved.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. That's and I guess if you're here, I guess I had the same question with respect to the striker reports for
Madam Mayor, if I could, for clarification, the purchase of both the SCBAs and the next item for the striker gurneys are out of ARPA funds. So
Oh.
not out of the general fund, just for clarification.
Thank you.
That's why he's the boss.
Okay, on that front, any other questions on item G, the striker gurney acquisition?
Just a quick question. So they're well past their life. I can't remember the exact time. Are we seeing any issues with them? Any, you know, like what's the kind of the wear and tear? Tell me about
For the gurneys or for the SCBAs?
the gurneys.
Okay, good job. All right.
Yeah, no, I moved on.
Cool. Had to kick you out. Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. Yes, they are past their recommended life. They do show wear and tear. Definitely, we've used them to the max that we can. So.
Do they present a safety issue at this point? Are things sticking, or is it, you know?
We do see in our yearly preventative maintenance that we do, there are minimal issues, but that they are getting fixed every year. So they're still operational and meeting the preventative maintenance that we do on them. So they are safe to use. We ensure that every year, but they definitely do show wear and tear.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Mayor, I want to apologize. The fire that's in close proximity of my house, I got a message from that, and I was distracted when you asked.
Oh, no. Do you need to excuse yourself?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, we're all thinking about that situation, so if you need anything from us in the city, let us know. All right, number H, any questions on the expansion of our CERT training? I, the second reading of our amended ordinance, or J, the FUA with Rio Hondo College. Okay, hearing no more questions, I will open this up for public comment with respect to items on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have one speaker card submitted from Pat Alcorn for consent item H.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I'm Pat Alcorn, and I'm the current president of Sierra Madre CERT. Imagine my surprise when reading the 24-52 resolution, because it's very timely. About 3 months ago, a Sierra Madre citizen who is a professional video photographer attended our general meeting and introduced himself, told us that he would be willing to help us in our effort to get information out to the city. John's worked for clients such as U.S. Army and Wilson Sporting Goods and Trek Bikes, so he's very well qualified. He's certified CERT training and has several suggestions on how we can get the information out through social media. So we're working with him now, and this will really assist us in recruiting and training. In the meantime, we've had to schedule cancel both of our spring FEMA training, basic training, and the one scheduled for next week because we don't have a certified instructor. Our training class previously has yielded over 200 CERT-trained citizens. It's approximately 25 to 30 for each class, so we won't have any worries about if we can have a class of getting the number each year, the goal each year. So it's been discouraging for us not to be able to offer this FEMA program and offer the ongoing training to our monthly meetings. But attendance has slipped since the COVID break, and our goal is to keep our trained members current and interested. And so this program will really help a lot. Chief Bartlett has offered to assist us in recruiting a certified instructor. And with the help of Mr. Murphy's ad campaign, I have no doubts, and I'm excited about being able to conform to this resolution. And I want to add, our next meeting will be September 26th at 7 o'clock at the Hart Park House. And Rich Snyder will be presenting a fire protection program on how to prepare for wildfire. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, Ms. Alcorn, you may have a question.
I just had a question. So what's the challenge with the instructor? What's the...
We have reached out to the Area D, and also we've worked with instructors at the Altadena and the other CERT programs, and they just don't have them available.
What's the lack that we have? What are we lacking in for the training? Is it full cert, or is there a portion of the cert? Like, what's the missing thing that we've got?
We can do everything in the program except have someone present the program, so.
Are you saying it's a CERT instructor that you're missing, a certified CERT instructor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So did we have certified CERT instructors in the past?
Oh, yeah, every one of our training programs has had the certified instructors, so.
And did we have a CERT member that was certified?
We do have one, but he's 92 years old, and he doesn't think that he'll be able to do the program.
So D is the only one that's certified to do the training?
In our, yes, Sierra Madre.
So is there a plan to try to get someone certified so that we don't have to rely, until we can be more self-reliant?
Yeah, we've been working on that, but as it turns out, it just is really hard to recruit nowadays for volunteers.
And that was my other question, is so we're supposed to have 1 out of every 2,000 residents that is part of the CERT team, so that would mean that that means we don't have to have a relatively large CERT team, is that right? That we'd have to have only, like, what? 6, yeah, thank you. 6 CERT members, is that accurate?
Not 6 CERT members per team. I understood when I was reading that was, go ahead.
Thank you, Chief.
Great question. And thanks to City Attorney Gary Gozin. He helped me out with this a lot as well. As you can tell, a lot of legalese in there. The way I look at it is we are probably, the findings were for us to enhance CERT membership by probably 3 personnel per year. For a time frame. I think it was 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. So probably an additional 15 members. And in talking with Ms. Alcorn, we're going to be committed. We're going to reach out to Area D. They're a little busy right now with the fires, but she's correct when she states that COVID did put a hamper on a lot of CERT activity, especially on the training side. So we need to find a FEMA certified instructor to do these courses, unless Dee does come out of retirement. But we're going to be looking for that, and we're not the only city that is struggling with this. Our neighboring cities are going through the same.
Just really quick, is this why you asked me if I was a CERT certified trainer? I am. I'm a FEMA certified instructor for both teens and adults.
So our search may be over.
Okay,
sorry.
Our search is complete.
We have another volunteer commission. So but perhaps we could talk offline on that if we could, Councilmember Lowe, and we can see if we can't fill the needs. But
I don't think we can nominate you. It's not on the agenda.
No.
But if it was, I would be nominating you right now.
No. Yeah. That's fine.
And so this finding, like, how does, there was a lot of legalese in it. So, like, did they audit our program? Did they audit the state program? I was a little confused in the report.
As well as I was when I received the mail stating that I had to have written correspondence and then have you all basically as well. The findings is from, as my staff report indicated, was from the county. And so it's basically on earthquake preparedness. And part of that finding for the fire department side and the city's portion of it is to enhance CERT membership and their training. So there's a lot of other findings in there, but we weren't required to respond to those.
So the county, so someone audited the county CERT program, and the county CERT program identified Sierra Madre and said, Sierra Madre, you are deficient in number of people and instructor training.
Sierra Madre was not called out. This is to all agencies within the county, and being a incorporated city, we have to act on that. The unincorporated cities are going to have the county on their behalf address the findings. So Sierra Madre was not called out, but we are part of those findings for Los Angeles County. So every city is going to have to address
All
this.
88 cities had to meet these things, and okay.
Correct.
My question is the organization that does the audit, or is ultimately responsible for that, is it also their responsibility to ensure that there are sufficient resources to actually provide this training? I mean, it's hard to tell somebody that they need to have training when there's not trainers to be had. Or is there any effort by the notifying agency to help provide those resources?
Great question, and I don't have that exact answer, but I'm going to go with no. As usual, there's a lot of stipulations put on especially local municipalities without the guidance or any way of assistance. So again, these are, in my understanding, they're findings. We're not going to be held liable if we don't meet these thresholds, but it is something for us to absolutely shoot for, and it's just going to enhance our responsibilities for our community. So we intend to see them through as best we can.
We should call it an unstaffed mandate, right?
Absolutely. It seems like that's the norm.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Any further public comment?
No other comment cards submitted, ma'am.
All right, I will bring it back for discussion, if any, or if no discussion, then a motion.
Move to approve the consent items A through J.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Consent calendar is approved. All right, so we're on to our first public hearing. I think Captain Amos is going to introduce Ordinance 1474 relating to the parking regulations.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. I am standing in on behalf of City Attorney Gary Gosian to present Ordinance 1474, which is amending parts of the commercial and recreational vehicle parking section. The City Council approved in 2020 Ordinance 1426, regulating parking for recreational and commercial vehicles in residential districts. Over the years, there have been several amendments made to that original regulation. This amendment is to incorporate trailers into the parking ordinance. The code enforcement officer, Mr. Greg Silva, over the years has received several complaints from local residents regarding commercial vehicles and commercial recreational vehicles in residential areas. And when he responded, it wasn't a commercial or recreational vehicle as was stated in the code. It was a trailer or a trailer camper type situation. So he needed to have wording specifically put in so that he could take whatever steps necessary to resolve the issue. That is what is being presented in the ordinance for the City Council to approve on the first reading.
Do we have any questions for Captain Amos?
Question.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Goss.
Captain, did these transgressions that you guys made a record of, were they principally on Sierra Madre Boulevard? Or were they in other places all around the city?
They were in other places, other residential areas off of Sierra Madre Boulevard. The specific locations, I'm not aware of that. Actually, Mr. Code Enforcement Officer could more closely speak to that.
Approximately how many instances are we talking about?
I would have to refer to Mr. Silva for that answer.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council member. Typically, I usually get about 4 or 6 complaints a month regarding recreational vehicles. Typically, as the captain stated, over the years, City Council has amended the code for recreational vehicles, which I would always get a complaint for a trailer. So trailers will be a camper trailer, a utility trailer, boat trailer, jet ski trailer,
or any other type of trailer. But at the time when I got the complaint, I was always using recreational vehicles, and that wasn't really the stipulant of using that type of definition. So this is where we have the amendment to have trailers, and I can use that in an official warning notices for the actual residents. So when the residents look up the code, and we had an incident with an individual, I don't know if you guys remember, he was from Auburn, 9189 Auburn. He had a trailer with his motorcycles. He came to city council. He was really upset because he thought I was harassing him, but I wasn't, because he stated, well, you guys don't have a specific code, so then therefore you can't tell me what to do. So this is where we're at right now.
Are those 4 to 6 complaints on the boulevard mostly, or on?
No, it would be throughout the city. The boulevard is only for a leeway. If a family member from a residential area, like specifically in the canyon, they come out of state, we would allow them to park in the boulevard without an overnight parking permit. So basically anywhere in the city, if you have a recreational vehicle, overnight parking permit, 72 hours would be considered. But if it's an emergency, we would allow them to park on the boulevard without a permit.
So, follow up. So these complaints you're getting are on vehicles that have not applied for and received a permit?
Yes, most of them are, because residents call them because they're there longer than 72 hours, 3 days consecutive.
Right.
And if you were to apply for a permit, could you then currently park a trailer on a street?
They can park a trailer with the specific code that we got from recreational vehicles only would be for 72 hours. Every recreational vehicle, and including trailers, now will be for 72 hours consecutive. After that, then they would have to put it on their private property or put it in a storage yard.
So if you wanted to get like the sticker that you've got in the car, you give the VIN number and all of that, you couldn't do that with a trailer?
No, because a lot of residents don't like to have large recreational vehicles in front of their yards, or if somebody's backing out. So the previous city manager, Gabe England, we implemented the recreational vehicle code with 15 feet clearance from a driveway. So that was always enforcing that. The clearance from the driveway, 15 feet. But now, since we've been getting a lot more utility trailers, jet skis, boats in the area, it would be hard for me to enforce that because we don't have that in the code.
I have some question about the language. So in Section 6 amendment, Section A, it says, no person shall park any oversized commercial and or recreational vehicle in any city street except while loading or unloading property as is necessary to complete such work.
Yes, that's been in effect since the 2020.
And is that different? So the oversized is the difference between A and B, where it says regardless of whether a person has a valid commercial or recreational vehicle, overnight parking is pursuant to 10.24.230, which is the 72 hours.
Yes, it would be correct.
So that's
because
the
commercial,
oversized.
Yeah, oversized, because there are other RVs, specifically the bus RVs. That would be the recreation because there are oversized. So the bus would be larger than the actual 7 feet itself.
Is that in here? Because we eliminated exceeding 7 feet in width or 7 feet in height. So how do we qualify an oversized commercial or recreational?
Typically, like the one in Auburn, he also had an oversized RV.
But I want it in the language.
So it
Yeah,
is.
we could.
Okay, is it?
Councilmember, yes, it's in the definitions in section 3.
Thank you.
The numbers aren't in parentheses. It's spelled out 7 feet in width or height or 20 feet in overall length.
Thank you so much. I missed that. So 20 feet in over length.
So if you're smaller than that, so I'm trying to follow the language on this. So if you're not oversized, you're still limited. You still have to park. You still only allow. Let me rephrase the question. Sorry. So, what is the difference with an oversized versus a non-oversized recreational or commercial vehicle? Like, what are the requirements different?
Basically, any recreational vehicle shall only be on the street with the parking permit for 72 hours.
Regardless if it's oversized
Regardless,
or not?
oversized or not, yeah.
But then what's the requirement for an oversized? What's different for an oversized?
I don't have that in front of me.
It's the size of the vehicle, the recreational or commercial vehicle itself. So it would have to exceed 7 feet in either width or height, or it's 20 feet in overall length of the vehicle.
So
except if there's a someone needs an accommodation for a disability, we have carved out an exception for that.
So if you're not over 7 feet in height or width and 20 feet in length, you can park it on the street. Because it says and Councilmember Lowe pointed out 1024-310, it says no person shall park any oversized commercial or recreational vehicle. So if it's not a oversized commercial or recreational vehicle, which means that it is not more than 7 feet high or 7 feet wide and shorter than 20 feet, you can park it on the street.
No, because then you go to B.
Go to B.
Yes.
Of 20.
Thank you.
24-310 B.
And there's a separate definition in 10.04.165 for what a recreational vehicle is. So anything under the size limit would default to the definition of a recreational vehicle,
So
and then go to B.
Okay, thank you for that correction.
Yeah, no problem.
Another question then also is, where did we come up with these qualifiers? Because I was looking at other cities and they weren't the same. So how did we decide on these qualifiers?
The numbers, you mean?
Yeah, the numbers, like the length. The height is about the same, the length is different by 5 feet.
Yeah, at the time when we were doing the amendment, I believe in 2020-21, we used City of San Dimas. City of San Dimas has that regulation regarding the oversized recreational vehicles.
Okay. So we just compared it to San
Yes.
Dimas.
Any other questions?
I just want to kind of ask a question to boil this down so everybody understands. It's regarding parking trailers on the street in residential areas. It doesn't affect the current downtown district where people have parked trailers overnight, potentially for a stage, potentially for a trip the next day. You're allowed to have your trailer on the street while you're loading or unloading your vehicle for, let's say, a trip. But you're not allowed to leave it overnight unless you apply for a 72-hour permit, and you're only allowed 72 hours. Is that kind of boiling it down to what we're looking at here?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
And that's 2 times a month with the, is that?
Wait, what now? What was
Is there a stipulation on the frequency of that? So 72 hours?
Yes, 72 hours.
How many times a month?
It's just on section 10.24.230, subsection A. You guys have that in front of you? It's basically any recreational vehicle cannot be in the city streets located more than 72 hours consecutive.
Not more than twice in a calendar month.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I thought that was in there, but I wanted to make sure.
And does this preclude or have any effect on, let's say somebody hires a tree trimmer and they don't park a trailer, but they have a trailer attached to their truck and they're working and shredding debris through a chipper?
Yeah.
Is that's still allowed?
That's still allowed, yeah. As long as they give us a call, I notate it, and I also tell PD, since if the vehicle's staying overnight, as long as they don't get an overnight parking permit as well.
Okay, I think that's clear. Thank you.
And also in section B of the amendment, what used to be 4D is now B, I guess 4. Connect a commercial or recreation vehicle to the public sewer system or dump waste into public or private land or into streets, gutters, or storm drains. What if they have a hookup already on their property?
If it's on the street, which I get a lot of complaints because the wires is connected from the trailer going across the public right away,
So
which
it
is
just means
encroachment.
when it's on
the public,
street.
yes.
Got it. Not if it's in the property.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, any more questions?
Don't think so.
All right, so I think this is a first reading, so we don't actually take any particular action, but I will ask for public comment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There are 2 speaker cards. The first is from Ron Coleman.
Well, I just totally got reconfused. We did this dance, like you said, or somebody said that was 21. We did this about that many years ago. And I thought we had it all kind of ironed out. But I'm surprised to hear that the same thing that was the complaint on Auburn Street with the vehicle and the trailer with all the motorcycles. We're bringing that up again. So my concern is that, how many complaints do we get? 3 or 4 a month, okay? Are you talking about, and now we've included motorcycle trailers and all this. Okay, I live on Fairview. I've had my trailer, I'm on my second trailer. And if I heard it with all your input, mine's a 24-foot long trailer. And if I want to, I always get my permit, but I am legal to be there, and I never do 72 hours. You know, I just want to find out with all the experts here, am I legal to do that? Because, you know, my wife and I like to use our trailer, but we choose not to store it on our property because I don't want to look at the thing, and I know that my neighbors don't. So we have to park it out at Mount Olive for $240 a month. But when we have to leave, when we want to leave, we want to get it here, get it packed, and be able to leave at 5:30 in the morning, because if I have to go out to pick it up out there, they don't open till 7, and it takes me 2 hours to get over the 210 freeway. I mean, come on, you all know that. So
we don't typically do back and forth, but I think this might be a nice illustration of the new ordinance. So if I could just ask you to clarify, so what you're asking is if you go on a Monday night, for example, to pick up the trailer where it's stored.
I go out and get it in the morning because, you know, my cane's sitting over here, my wife's not doing well either. It takes us a day to load everything into it.
Okay, so for the example, you go on a Monday and to pick it up, it comes back into town on a Monday. You're going to leave it parked in front of your house overnight, Monday night, and leave on your trip on Tuesday. Is that the typical situation?
Yes.
Okay, and you said that you do get the permit for the overnight?
I always do.
Yeah, then you would, I mean, if everyone's in agreement, I think that would be fine under the amended code.
Negative, because it's over 20 feet length. But he does have the exception because he probably has a handicap.
Say it one more time?
You have a handicap placard, correct?
Well, I don't use it out there because I buy my permit. Yes, I have my
But
blue
with
card.
that, so actually, according to this amendment, we're taking away the previous language and we're adding a length of 20 feet. His trailer's 24.
It still requires just a permit.
No, you can't. It's oversized, so it can't be on a residential street. It can only be parked on the city streets.
I think we should hear from the city attorney on this.
So that is correct. The way you're interpreting the code is how it's written. However, in speaking with the police chief before this meeting, there is a custom and a practice of accommodating residents in the situation if they call in advance and notify the police department that they need to park the vehicle overnight. It is informal, and it is on a case-by-case basis and based on need. So it is an informal practice. In that situation, you could call the police department and let them know, and then they would cease enforcement for the overnight to allow you to park there. But the code doesn't discuss this practice. It's a community practice of the police department.
But correct me if I'm wrong, according to the language, because he has a handicap placard, he has that exception
That
already
is
without
true.
calling.
Yes, if you used your handicap placard, you would not have to call.
Okay.
With your circumstance, yes.
I suggest that you do some research on a standard pickup truck, not a little baby one. A 3/4 ton, like my 3/4 GMC truck, is longer than 20 feet. So now you're saying that somebody can't even park their 20-foot standard truck out in the street. Somebody needs to start doing a little measuring of other than RVs.
That's very helpful, and I'm glad we did this illustrative example because I think it highlighted a point that personally I had not appreciated. So thank you.
So that I'm clear, but the vehicle, this code doesn't apply, this ordinance doesn't apply to vehicles, does it?
Yes.
Or would it?
Yeah, oversized.
It would. It's
It would be
oversized.
oversized.
We don't want to get to discussion yet, right?
Yeah, no.
So we're still in questions.
All right,
Okay.
I just.
Thank you, I appreciate your comment, yes,
And
thank
then
you.
also, measure how wide, come by and look at my truck.
Thank you.
I know it.
I fail on length and width.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Very helpful, thank you.
So to clarify the question that was on the floor, this ordinance doesn't conceive of regular vehicles. We're talking about recreational vehicles. So it's utility trailers, travel trailers, trucks, campers, tents, pickup campers, camping trailers, self-propelled motorhomes. We're not talking about regular vehicles. His truck would be a vehicle, assuming it didn't have any of those bells and whistles that I just mentioned.
So just to parse the language, going back to, being a valuable JD around, so the part in the definition of recreational vehicle where it says, or other vehicle or trailer, all of the qualifications after that, designed, altered for human habitation, for recreational, emergency, or other human occupancy, that's intended to qualify both vehicle and trailer. So to your point, a regular truck, a large truck that's meant for transportation purposes without being altered for human habitation or recreational, emergency, or human occupancy, that's the qualifier that knocks out this application to a regular, transportation truck.
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to bring up one thing.
All right,
And
wait, hold on, we're not in discussion.
I'm sorry.
And this is a question, and I don't know if are we allowed to still ask questions
Yes.
even though we're in the public hearing?
Yes.
So, I have a pickup truck, and my pickup truck, I have to pay, actually I pay a commercial vehicle license because it's a pickup truck. And this says oversized commercial, even though it's not used for commercial purposes, if you have a license plate that has a letter, a number followed by letters, I think it is, you're considered a commercial vehicle. I want to make sure that our language is clear, that we're not including every single pickup truck, including mine, as being a commercial vehicle, because technically, and maybe the police would disagree with me, it's my understanding, since I have a commercial vehicle, I can park in commercial spaces, but I would still get a ticket, but I'm not supposed to. Because I pay that extra vehicle license fee for having a commercial vehicle. So my question is since it is officially a commercial vehicle, just my regular Ram 1500, would that be under the code, even though there's no definition for a commercial vehicle? If that all makes sense.
It does. I'm checking right now. So it defaults to the California Vehicle Code because the city does not have its own definition.
Let me give you a moment to find that, and there was one other comment card, correct? So we'll go to the second public comment. Thank you so much. It's been
I just wanted to make sure, one other thing, last time we did the stance, I parked my truck and my trailer in front of my house, and then I parked my other car across the street, and I had Mr. Snyder come up and drive the fire truck by there, and I said, Rich, is this gonna bother you, me parking here? He said, no, you're fine. So, you wanna pay the public safety card, I can see it on somebody parking in the canyon, yeah.
got it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Our second public comment, Madam City Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Elizabeth Walters is the second name.
Hi. Hi, everyone. I could really retract myself. I think that you're all in agreement and that what you have assessed is reasonable as far as I'm concerned. I do own an RV. I have for 30 years. 6 or 8 times a year we park it in front of our home while we're getting ready, and I get the permit, and I perhaps was misunderstanding what was happening here this evening and thought that was going to maybe be pulled away from my ability to do so. So thank you all.
If you have a motorcycle
I
trailer,
do not have a motorcycle.
It'll apply as well.
Boat, or at least yet. We can always dream, though. I would just maybe say that, with regard to complaining, especially in today's society, one man's nuisance isn't really reflective of an entire neighborhood or community. And I think that should always be considered. Thank you
very much. Appreciate it.
So, my apologies. I did my best to study the ordinance, but I didn't write it, so I don't have a memory of it. Commercial vehicle is something that's being added to this, and your vehicle would qualify as a commercial vehicle if it's being registered under the California Vehicle Code and used or maintained or if you're using it for work, basically, used or maintained for the transportation of persons, for hire, compensation, or profit, or designed, used, or maintained primarily for the transportation of property.
Yeah, in my example, I'm not using it for work, but according to the DMV, it's a commercial vehicle because of its size and potential applications.
So if you're not using it for work, you don't meet the second requirement.
Let's table the rest of this for discussion. I think we're done with public comment, and so actually we can now move into discussion. So I would say, just to frame this a little bit, it sounds like we may have an interest in tweaking some of this. I just want to be clear, if we do so, then we will need to do a first reading.
Yes, that is correct.
So just, not to discourage, I just want to make sure that we're all clear on the process here. And I will just say as to this issue, and then I'll turn it back over to the discussion. I am not interested in having our code enforcement or law enforcement decide whether or not you're using your truck for commercial purposes. I don't think that's something we want to get into, A. And B, I'd like to hear, I think, from our PD and code enforcement whether commercial vehicles such as yours is really the problem we're trying to solve here. So then maybe we start with that.
There is a difference between having just a commercial plate, because all pickup trucks have commercial plates, and using that vehicle in a commercial manner. Typically, I've been in law enforcement for over 20 years. I've stopped millions of trucks, and it's personal people using their personal trucks for personal use. And the DMV issues specific commercial plates or a commercial plate set to those type vehicles. It's not that you're using it in a commercial setting, as in for work or business or something of that manner. It's just your vehicle. The trucks are deemed as commercial vehicles, as like SUVs get regular plates that are associated with cars. That is a DMV money matter, and not for law enforcement purposes. And when we as officers go out to scenes and evaluate these situations, we look at the ordinance. If the situation that was given by the gentleman, if he has the permit and he's loading up his vehicle, he has within the 72 hours to comply within the code. And then after that, it's typically we deal with warnings and stuff of that nature before we actually go to citing. So yes.
But to my question also, in terms of the increasing complaints or the complaints that aren't addressed appropriately by the code, which is what I understand this amendment to address, are we concerned about someone in town who has a plumbing business who's parking his or her vehicle, commercially used truck in front of their house? Is that the concern that we are trying to address? That was not my understanding, and I don't know how much we care about that.
That's not from my understanding in our conversations with Mr. Silva and Mr. Gary Rogosian. That was not the intent of this. This was to give clarification for instance where you have the toy hauler, the motorcycle trailer, the boat trailer, or something to that effect. And it's to provide language that gives us the ability to accurately enforce, if necessary, any codes or regulations that are already on the books.
Got it.
Nothing else from the ordinance has been changed except there's adding that wording or adding the definitions.
I kind of want to circle back to the point that Councilmember Lowe was making about the length. Personally, I have a travel trailer as well, and I just have a Ram 1500, not a 3/4 ton or full ton. It's a smaller. So my trailer is actually considered small, but it's 23 feet long, and with the tongue, it's 27 feet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fortunate that I have a large property and driveway. I can load it, but I don't have a handicap placard, and maybe a lot of other people don't.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're going to be loading their trailer and maybe need to do it overnight, from what I think Councilmember Lowe brought up earlier, is that if it's over 20 feet, you can't do it. So I want to make sure that we're considering an individual that doesn't have a handicap placard, that has a trailer that, because again, mine's considered a smaller trailer at 23 feet plus a 4-foot tongue.
Just so I get clarification, are you saying that it cannot be done at all, or?
I think this is, the way it's written now, that's correct. If it's
Unless
over
you
20
call
feet.
and get special permission.
But that seems, I don't know that we need to write law that
Yes.
that says, oh, well, we're gonna let you slide because you're not abusing the rule, right?
So,
can I-
council members, what you could do is carve out an exception that overnight parking is allowed for 24 hours with these trailers. And that seems like it would resolve some of the concerns that you're having.
Kind of for the purposes of going on a trip and not for
If you're loading
residing
and,
your.
if you're loading and unloading it and need to leave it overnight, you could. It would be, talking it out, it would be difficult for staff, but allowing it for 24 hours.
Could I offer another suggestion?
Yeah.
So could we do what other cities have done? And I'm looking at Arcadia, and they put the width and the height, they don't put the length. And then one of the cities just puts the weight. It only says 6,000 pounds is oversized. So could we just change the length or eliminate the length? I don't know if we want to eliminate the length, but why don't we do it like, say, Ontario does 25 feet?
Can I offer even simpler?
Yeah.
Do we care how long it is if it's limited in time? Like, if I would even be okay with 72 hours. Like,
Yeah, I'm okay with that,
I mean,
too.
to me, the point is that you don't want to park all the time, or for someone living there or something like that. And if loading takes more than a day, like, I don't want to.
Or every single weekend, right?
But there's this other great stipulation, I think, that you would have less complaints also, is that the vehicle has to be parked in front of your property.
Well, what if your neighbor's parked in front of your property?
No, I'm saying, oh, I see what you're saying, but.
Happens all the time.
Oh, yeah. My husband will come for
I
public
guess it's,
comment.
I guess it says like in front of your property or adjacent.
You do have a section in your code that allows for the 72-hour permit for vehicles. What you could do is direct staff to come back, look at that section of the code and see what we could do to include these types of recreation and commercial vehicles to accommodate this, and then adjust this ordinance accordingly.
Yeah, I'm trying to sort of do two things. One, I appreciate that we need the ability to enforce this same kind of thing on a multitude of vehicles, which right now it does not address. I'll just say I'm completely in support of that. What I don't want to do is create a bunch of like, do we need to weigh it? Do we need to, what is this and what is that? Like, I think we should just be simple. Like, if we allow folks to do something, for loading purposes for 72 hours, let's just do that and not parse, bring out the tape measure and figure out exactly how long things are. That would be my preference. And I also think we need to address this issue of commercial vehicles, because we definitely don't need to be creating a situation where we're going to be telling people they can't park their actual pickup truck in front of their house, because I don't think that's a concern of anyone's.
Maybe.
Like, I don't think anybody's complaining about somebody parking their own truck if it's a Ford truck
I
that
guess
just
though,
happens
if
to
you
be
didn't-
large and
if you
happens
didn't
to
put
be.
any parameters, then would it mean that a commercial semi can be parked in front of your house? So I agree, like I said, I like the language of the other cities. I think they all agree that they either put the weight limit, which I agree is hard to measure, but the height and the width. So they all say the 7 feet wide, 7 feet height, and that is Arcadia's. Monrovia's says weighs over 6,000 pounds. So what if we just took away the length?
What about moving vans that are technically semis? Like, we allow that. We should allow that.
Are they allowed overnight, though?
I don't know.
And my trailer's over 7 feet tall. I can't, I have an 8-foot reach and I can't touch the top of my trailer.
Okay, that means all of ours are.
Yeah.
Unless you have a.
I don't know where the 7 foot
pop-up.
height comes from.
No, I think
There are no trailers that are 7 foot tall.
I didn't even think about that. Thank
That's
you.
only a few inches taller than me.
So should we could
Maybe a
just
motorcycle
go
trailer.
with 6,000 pounds? Is your rig over 6,000 pounds?
Well, how, I mean, I don't know how our PD
What
would
is that,
ever be able to.
GVWR? Is that,
I'm just copying what other cities are. I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I know, but how do they enforce that? Do they have like a weight, like a
I bet they can look at it and
scale?
be like, that's heavy.
I'm liking what the mayor's kind of suggesting, but my fear is frequency, because we don't want anybody abusing it and doing it every weekend. Even I would say like
It's twice
20.
a month. Twice a
I
month.
would say 24 times a year is quite
No, it says twice a month.
still a lot.
Well, some of us go camping a lot.
I do go camping a lot,
Yeah.
but I'm not retired yet. I'll probably go camping a lot more.
Sorry, go ahead.
I know,
Well,
Stand
yeah,
by.
maybe
Here to
if we
help.
could hear what the complaints are, I think that could be helpful. But again, we want to take that second commenter's,
Yeah, and I appreciate the point about if we don't have any restriction and allow anything for 72 hours, theoretically, yes, that could mean a semi. I don't know that we've had that situation. I don't know that we need to address things that don't happen. But I mean,
There were a couple truckers that we had to tell them to park it down on the boulevard.
and there are a lot of residents that do that. They load it and then they leave it on the boulevard overnight because that is legal, and it's currently legal, and that's not changing. We don't want to discourage that.
But I personally am like you, I don't want to park my trailer because it's 21 feet down at the boulevard because it's oversized for in front of the house.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm sorry, you wanted clarity on to what the concern was that we're addressing?
I don't like the length.
No, I know, but you were
Okay.
asking a question about the complaints, right?
I was.
Oh, he was, he was.
Just have an understanding of what the typical situations that we warrant a complaint and have the PD come out.
I mean, I think that's what Mr. Silva was saying, right? Like that he would go out to a complaint about the motorcycle trailer, and technically speaking, the motorcycle trailer wasn't covered by our current code because it only really applied to campers and recreational vehicles.
So was it out there
Yeah.
Consistently?
Yes, it was there consistently. Yes, so this resident at 89 North Auburn always had his trailers with motorcycles, and it was a larger trailer with his motorcycles and a utility box.
Yeah.
And he did have a handicap placard, but we always got complaints from the resident across the street.
Oh.
Are you getting complaints about somebody loading the recreational vehicles for the weekend?
No, it's recreational vehicles right now as we speak. There's no complaints. It's just that the fact that I get sometimes complaints for trailers when they're bringing the mobile trailers, the camper trailers, or the utility trailers.
And parking them for long.
And parking them for a longer time overnight. Technically, I'm giving them a notice, but it's under recreational vehicle.
So some of the complaints would be just for overnight.
Just overnight.
One night.
1 night or 2 nights. Or sometimes consecutive. So when the neighbor says, hey, this trailer's been here consecutive, they themselves, they'll call PD and say, oh, they don't have a permit. So then I go out there and take a look and I notate it. So I have a folder with the last 3 years with numerous trailers throughout the months that I come in contact or I got called on regarding trailers.
So the complainants were worried about the city not having revenue for the permits? I mean, like, that was really the concern because they understood that if there was a permit, it could be there overnight?
Yeah, they can be there overnight for 3 days, 72 hours, but their concern is that they don't like seeing the trailer there. A boat trailer, frequency. The boat trailer, jet ski trailer, utility trailer.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, I mean, I do agree that, like, we shouldn't split hairs over which things need permits. And I agree that, like, vehicles with your, trailers with your toys on it are not that much different than a trailer, a camper trailer.
There are a few residents right now in the city that one would be specifically will have multiple vehicles on it, and two other ones will be just utility trailers, which they're doing a lot of demo or whatever. They fail to put it in their driveway, so they leave it out in the street. But I don't address it because the residents are already fed up with it. So all I do is talk to them. I give them a warning notice, and hey, if you don't move your vehicle overnight, then you'll get a citation. Overnight parking.
Okay. All right. So let's triangulate back. So I think what we're going to send this back to staff, and I think there's sort of 2 areas of requested modification. One is around this notion that I think the consensus is that the 72-hour limit or some limit should be allowed for even larger, what would be oversized in this, and whether that's larger or unlimited, I guess, is still a debate. And then the other thing is this commercial vehicle distinction that we just need to make sure it's clear that it's not intended to be
a commercial plate.
A commercial plate. And maybe the definition, I mean, I guess that's another question. I guess the definition does require that second prong that it's actually used for work. I personally don't think that that's something we're being asked to address. Like if someone has their plumbing truck sitting in front of their house, I don't you know, I'm not looking for that to be regulated, but others should weigh in on that.
Yeah, I think maybe, yeah, because typically that's not a big nuisance if somebody's able to get the sticker for it, right? I mean,
I don't personally am not interested in legislating where people can park their work trucks as long as they aren't actual like trailers.
I agree.
Okay, so I think those are the two.
And specifically, I guess for me, just the point about the size is just that it should be accommodating for our residents. So 20 feet seems short when, as you can hear, all of us are even above that personally, let alone our
yeah, and make it clear, I'm using my personal issue as an example, not
Yeah,
saying I
same.
need, I have a trailer,
exactly.
because I don't even put it on my street only to close the gate.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just as an example that these things do exist.
Yep.
And they're common.
Very common.
I'm sorry, on the commercial point, if I could clarify, are you saying that you want that provision removed altogether, or that you want it clarified to make sure that which commercial vehicles are you interested in capturing? So it sounds like it's not people with commercial plates, it's not maybe people with vans who are, they're regular sized vans with branding on it and regular sized trucks. It sounds like it's creeping into the size issue again of larger vehicles that are being used for commercial purposes.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Like a triple axle.
I think if you're a resident and you own an electric company, for instance, and it's not too wide impeding in the road for safety issues, right? It's okay, right? I mean, there's some.
Right, but I don't know that I want, I mean, I guess the distinction would be like if, in that situation, if you owned a cherry picker vehicle, like that's the kind of thing that like is a commercial vehicle that we probably wouldn't want parked in front of someone's
Or a
house
semi.
every night. Or a semi.
So we're talking about
Multi-axles or-
commercial vehicles that are potentially, they qualify as a vehicle under
That should be great.
the California Vehicle Code. However, they maybe have branding on it for the business. If it's modified in a way that's, I think I understand what you're trying to say.
I think it is.
right?
I think it is sort of a size. I think that maybe maybe it
that's
is
a
sort
good
of
way to say
it's an
it.
oversized commercial.
Okay,
Oversized, I guess that is a good distinction. Oversized commercial versus oversized recreation.
okay. Thank you.
So we're looking at like the large Sprinter vans or things like that. Is that what we're trying to not to have a permit and not have or have a temporary permit versus an annual permit?
I'm thinking width is a bigger issue, especially on streets. I'm in East
Not
Bay
the
Street,
height.
Grandview, which is very narrow and very, very high traffic. I think for a safety issue.
Is that already part of another code? Like you can't do this in the canyon, so is that already part of another
Yeah,
code that we already have?
I think that's a really good question. Yeah, do we differentiate with the canyon?
Do you guys already have codes that designate whether a car cannot be parked there because it impedes upon traffic?
Yeah, residential canyon you can't park. Recreational vehicles cannot be parked on the roadway because it impedes the traffic.
Okay. So that's a different part
it's
of the
already-
code.
it's already
Residential
taken care of.
canyon, yeah.
In language in the another code, got it.
Right.
But we're talking, the vehicle that comes to mind is like a party bus,
Oh,
right? It's a commercial vehicle. It's used for, and it's
Yes.
it's larger, right? It's not a transportation vehicle, right? Maybe that's a silly example, but this larger size, potentially wider, also impeding traffic. That's more the direction that we're talking about.
Yeah, or like an F-350 or 450 that's outfitted with, I think the example was like some kind of crane device or a cherry picker. So it's like, it's this large.
it's
So-
well,
so-
I think
so-
it's covered.
I think what I'm thinking about trying to exclude is someone who just owns a normal sized, pickup or van that happens to be used for work. I mean, that's what I think we're trying not to capture.
It's still their daily driver,
Yeah.
even though it has branding on it. Maybe some equipment sitting in the bed of the truck.
So yeah, so like if you've got a pickup truck that you've converted the bed and you've got rails on it or things like that where you're storing equipment in it, say you're a pool business or you're an electrical contractor, I would seem to be fine with that. But when you get that bigger, it's bigger and wider, and so however we define that, which gets harder, I think, every year as vehicles get bigger and
But do
wider.
we agree it's covered by other codes? If it impedes upon traffic, then.
Well,
you
it
can't.
does in the canyon, but I don't.
No, not in the canyon, in other streets as well, Grandview, right?
I don't know. That's not clear to me.
Well, basically, if it's an oversized commercial vehicle, yes. We're not talking about recreation. So like you're saying, if there was a Sprinter van that had, you know.
That's covered in a code already.
Yeah, just oversized.
So we could get rid, so what I'm hearing is we could get rid of commercial entirely in this, and we wouldn't be
Yes,
changing anything.
because the way you're reading it and the residents will read it, same thing. So if I have a Ford F-350 and it's just a commercial truck, then they'll read it, well, or I can't have my truck parked in the residential area.
Let me clarify, we can't go by that
Yeah.
criteria. We have to do by a legal criteria.
Yeah.
So it can't be like, that sounds good for our citizens. No, it has to be a legal criteria.
So maybe, I mean, are we trying to split this? It sounds like we're trying to split it, and I think I like that approach, is that it'd be good to like come before us and us see the latest on the commercial vehicle,
We'll
separate
delineate
that out, and then deal this one with recreational vehicles.
I agree.
Especially if the commercial vehicles might be covered elsewhere.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's why I bring it up, is because we believe it's dealt elsewhere, but it's worth us reviewing it so we make sure that we're covering the situations.
Good idea.
So if we look at attachment A, page 1, are you suggesting, Mayor Pro Tem, says the Sierra Madre Municipal Code to regulate the parking of commercial vehicles and recreational vehicles and trailers in residential districts, you want to have to regulate the parking of commercial vehicles, that's one ordinance, and the other ordinance covers recreational vehicles and trailers, both in residential areas?
So what I'm hearing from code enforcement is that commercial vehicles are handled somewhere else in the code. So what I'm saying is, so maybe this definition, because this definition is commercial vehicle, so it's already in the code somewhere else. But in the.
It's not true.
I'm looking at the title, because this is specific to parking.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't need to debate what is or isn't in the code. I mean, it either is or it isn't.
Yeah,
It
what I'm trying to find
isn't
out
covered
is
somewhere else, so we can't eliminate it.
Yeah,
because
if it's not covered
right,
somewhere else, then we can't.
Here's where I'm trying to get done. So in section 2, where it says commercial vehicle, I wouldn't touch that. I'd have that come back as a separate item. In section 3, where it says oversized recreational or commercial vehicle, I'm saying we strike commercial vehicle, focus on recreational vehicle here, have it come back on commercial vehicle wherever that other section is where commercial vehicles are.
Okay.
So that we can really look at that part and we frame this as a recreational vehicle for this. Because we've got it seems here that it's added in, and then we go into 10.465 and it's just recreational vehicle again. So I'm not seeing as much commercial in it. We're struggling with commercial. We've got a pretty good idea of recreational. Let's deal with recreational and then deal commercial separately.
I agree. I like that.
Is that clear? Do you have guidance? Okay, thank you.
So I'm gonna repeat it back to you. Just to
Good.
make sure. We're splitting the issues. The commercial vehicle is gonna come back as a separate ordinance, and it sounds like you'd like a report on how that term is being used in your local vehicle code.
Yes.
Currently. And then we're gonna make the modifications that we've discussed, exploring a 72-hour or some time limit, being allowed for recreational vehicles. We're gonna revisit size, and then width is a consistent issue that I heard time and time again, so we'll make sure to revisit that as well.
Height is too, the size is
Size,
length
just
and-
size in general.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think for recreational vehicles, our definition of oversized, almost every single recreational vehicle will be
It's oversized.
And then it's pretty much precluded, given the language we're looking at now.
Okay.
And we want to.
Be more accommodating to the residents on the
Absolutely.
recreational vehicles that would need to stand on the street for 72 hours or whatever, 24,
48.
whatever it ends up being. Okay.
And I think for me, the other thing is just to not have multiple standards that require lots of, machinations and measurements and all this. Like, it'd be nice as much as possible to have sort of like one uniform, that's a trailer, it's a trailer, I don't need to measure it, I don't need to weigh it, because I also just like to make this simple for enforcement purposes. Especially since I don't think we're drawing conclusion, like we think one is bad and one is good. I think we're just wanting to limit it overall. Okay. All right. Let's move on to our second public hearing with respect to amendments to ordinance 1473.
Can I ask one question? I know you're tired of me, but when is this gonna come back?
You need to come to the mic.
No.
We don't know yet.
We don't know. We don't know. We'll notice it.
We don't know yet.
The question was, when is it gonna come back, just for the audience that
Right.
don't hear the microphone, and we don't know yet.
We're gonna need some time to look into it, so I can't promise you
Okay.
it.
I'm gonna be on a road trip with my trailer in the month of October, and so don't bring it up in October. I'm not coming back. For
You can also email the city clerk if you have public comment while you're gone.
I don't.
Okay.
Okay.
Ron, you can
Just
just call
saying.
me. I'll call you, you tell me what you're thinking.
Just to let you know, Wrightwood's burning down.
Oh, I know.
Man,
Yeah. Sounds
Whitewood
village yesterday.
and Baldy.
And Baldy?
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. This evening, I'm here to propose amendments to the city's non-smoking ordinance, which would enhance the well-being of our community and the quality of our outdoor spaces. The proposed amendment to the city's non-smoking ordinance seeks to extend the existing smoking ban to include all city parks and trails. This effort reflects our ongoing commitment to public health, environmental protection, and the enjoyment of our beautiful public spaces. This amendment has been prompted by numerous complaints from residents who have consistently voiced their concerns over secondhand smoke in public spaces, calling for action to create healthier and cleaner environment. Staff recommends that City Council adopt Ordinance 1473 with amendments to prohibit smoking in parks and on trails. And this concludes my report. Any questions?
Does anyone have questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. That was good.
I will open it up then for public comment.
Madam Mayor, the city clerk's office did receive one email for public comment on this public hearing. That email was from day one and forwarded to the city council earlier today for consideration.
Thank you. So, back to discussion.
I'd like to thank staff for bringing it forward. I think this is a natural and logical extension of it, and I'm in full support.
I have to admit that I'm not sure I knew that it wasn't already the case, and so I would, yes, I also am in support.
No brainer.
What's the process here? Are we, what's the exact, is this another first reading situation? Sorry.
Yes, that is correct. No, it's okay.
So do we need to take action on it?
City council has asked to approve first reading of the ordinance. The staff's recommendation, the city council approve first reading and recommend that city staff come back to a second meeting for second reading.
Okay.
Thank you.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 1473 as amended and recognize it as a first reading.
Second.
No, hold on. As amended? You mean amending the
I'm sorry.
section?
Amending.
It's not amended.
Would you like to withdraw your?
I would withdraw and give another motion.
That was part of the Roberts rules that just got read.
I know.
I move that we adopt ordinance 1473, prohibiting smoking in parks and trails. And we recognize this as a first reading.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, and then I think our last item of the night is our remaining discussion item, which is City Clerk to give an update on the municipal election for November 5th.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is an informative report intended to provide an update to the City Council on the upcoming November 5th general municipal election. No action is required for this item. And just as a reminder, in case anyone forgot, the city is holding a general municipal election on November 5th. There are 2 seats for city council and 1 seat for city treasurer. The 2 seats, the city clerk's office received nomination papers for the 2 city council seats from the incumbents and did not receive any nominations for the city treasurer's seat. In addition to those 3 elected positions, there is 1 citizen initiative ballot measure recognized as Measure PS, and that is a public safety special tax. The city clerk's office posted a notice over the weekend in the city's adjudicated newspaper for informing the public of the write-in period for candidate nominations. At this time, the city clerk's office has not received any interest or requests for candidate nominations. The candidate nomination period for write-in candidates is September 18th through October 10th. And I am available for questions if there are any questions from the city council.
Question, is our current treasurer not able to run again?
There are no term limits in the municipal code for any elected position. The city treasurer has, the current city treasurer has chosen to not seek a re-election.
And so since we don't have a treasurer, what are the what are the options?
So currently we're in the write-in nomination period. So if someone were to choose to write in, to pull papers as a write-in candidate, they could run for that seat as a write-in candidate. In the event that no one pulls papers for that seat, then the city council would be asked to appoint a city treasurer.
And how would that process work? What would be the appointment process? Would it be like we do commissions?
It would be very similar, and the city council could decide the more formal process, but there would be an opportunity to nominate or for people to nominate themselves, or for the city council or other interested parties to nominate a party, and then the candidate would have to accept, and then the city council could appoint. The city, there is precedence from previous appointments. When the city held an elected city clerk, the city council held a process to appoint a city clerk, and that process was done through very similar to and modeled after the current commissioner application process, and several candidates did apply, and the city council interviewed all the candidates, and one was selected.
And to be clear, I suspect, unlike commission appointments, this was by vote, not by single mayoral appointment.
Yes, ma'am.
Asking for a friend.
Yes, that is correct. All the votes would be equal. Each council member would have 1 equal vote.
So I have a question regarding the city council vote for the two open seats. As I read this, I want to make sure I understand it. Let's say we have 2 incumbents that have been nominated or that are on the ballot, and let's say no one puts forth a write-in candidate nomination. What happens then? Is it possible for us? And I'm not trying to go around the electoral vote process, but my question is kind of twofold. Are we able to then appoint the 2 incumbents as a council, or do we have to go through the voting process? And I ask this because I'm concerned about what is the marginal cost of having that on the ballot. If nobody else is running, 1 vote to each person gets them elected, especially with that, or if there's no write-in.
Yes.
So I'm thinking about the fiscal analysis. I'm not trying to go around the democratic process, but there's nobody else that would be able to sit in those seats other than the ones that have been nominated.
Thank you for that question. The candidate write-in period will take us into the less than 88 days that would allow us to cancel the election, and so at that point we would not be able, or currently we would not be able to cancel that portion of the election. However, it becomes a little more complicated because there is a ballot measure, And so the ballot measure could be reinterpreted through elections law to prohibit the cancellation of any portion of the election.
And I'm assuming, since we do have a ballot measure, that the marginal cost to have two names on the ballot is not that much different?
It wouldn't be that much different, but also to further reduce the cost, since it is a presidential election and there are state also contests on here and local contests, there are more agencies that will have elections in the upcoming November election, which will further reduce the cost from the city, because it is a shared cost. And so the more agencies that have a contest or a ballot measure, the more the cost gets shared amongst all the various agencies.
Okay.
Won't every agency have an election?
No, not every agency will have an election on November 5th, but it is a presidential election.
Yeah, that's
and
what I
then
mean.
We do have some statewide elections. We have county and then ours. So, and then school districts. And so
Just an example. So Arcadia, let's say Arcadia has no local officials, no local initiatives, only has, the state, county, federal level elections. Does the city of Arcadia then not hold an election for its residents? Do they then become like county voters, or Arcadia still has to put on an election even though they don't have any Arcadia specific voting?
So if there is nothing on the ballot, then Arcadia can vote, the Arcadia City Council could vote to cancel their election. They do happen to have something on the ballot.
Right,
this
okay,
year,
bad
but
example, but
if there was nothing on the ballot, then the City Council could vote to have the election.
And then their residents would cast their votes for the other elections in some other
Not in their
jurisdiction,
city?
like the county or something, the state. Interesting.
And they would incur no cost?
Additional cost, correct. Yeah, there wouldn't be any cost if there wasn't a city election. If the city election was canceled, there wouldn't be a cost.
Interesting.
Okay.
What's the cost of a presidential election? Like, for example, what was the 2000's a bad example because of the pandemic, but we know that the cost of the special election was about $500,000, if I remember correctly. And so kind of what does a presidential election differ with, because we've got more agencies sharing it, what's the cost to the city?
So the cost to the special election was $425,000, and that was because there were minimal cost-sharing opportunities. In the upcoming election, we will have cost-sharing opportunities with, as I mentioned before, federal government, state, county, and the school district. It is difficult at this time to estimate what it actually is, because the county is still holding elections and still receiving election information. So while it will be a bigger opportunity to share that cost with other agencies, we don't anticipate that it's going to reach at all the same levels that it did for the special election that was held mid last year.
So to Mayor Pro Tem's point, what was if you recall, what was the midterm cost? So the 2022 election.
Good question.
What was the city's cost share on that one? I don't mean to put
It
you
was
on the spot.
significant. It was significantly less than the $425,000. So you're asking about the November 2022 election?
Correct.
That would have. It was still six figures, but it was less than 200,000.
Okay,
So
less than half.
yeah, I'm looking at yeah.
And there
discussion.
were probably fewer agencies with local mid-year items that was shared in that. So you would think that this would, think this would be even lower, because there's going to be more cities that align their local issues with the national presidential cycle.
In the last presidential election that we had, isn't a apples to apples comparison, because there have been some COVID changes that have transpired since 2020, the 2020 election, namely everyone gets in a vote by mail ballot, and then the voter information guides are a little lengthier in size now than they were prior to the COVID pandemic.
And are we? And I'm sorry if you still had questions. I didn't mean to jump in front
go
of
ahead.
you. Are we still we still do 10 days as well? Is that still part of it, or has it been shortened back to a more normal length?
The 10-day vote centers is a permanent feature that was adopted during the COVID pandemic, and that is not something that's going to go away. That's a permanent fixture.
And ballots drop at the end of the month, right?
The vote by mail ballots are scheduled to go out the week of October 7th to all registered voters. And so that's about 30 days, 29 days from Election Day. And every single voter, registered voter, will receive a ballot, which is different than how things were handled in the 2020 presidential election. So there are some additional costs that the city is now incurring that we didn't incur in the 2020 election year.
Got it.
All right, any other questions?
Mayor, I just, one question for the city clerk. One thing that we didn't contemplate was if nobody submits for nomination for treasurer, does the city have the option to appoint the director of finance as the city treasurer? I know we like to maintain for transparency independent, but is that an option for the city council?
So the way the current municipal law, the city's municipal law is written, the city treasurer must be a registered voter and living within the city of Sierra Madre. That was also the same, those were also the same stipulations for the elected city clerk prior to the changes that occurred in the 2020 election. If the city council were desirous, or if there were a citizens initiative that was circulated to change the current requirements for the city treasurer, then the city treasurer could be anyone that the city council or the city manager appointed to that position. But currently, the way the municipal code is written, in the city treasurer must be elected, resident of Sierra Madre, and registered to vote.
We would also, want to explore whether there was an incompatible offices issue between the city clerk's office and the director of financial management, if that's a direction that you'd like to pursue.
You mean the city treasurer's office?
I'm sorry, city treasurer, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to put a finer point on it, if our finance director was a registered voter living in Sierra Madre, that there would be no impediment to that appointment on the basis of the finance director being employed by the city in that capacity.
That is correct.
But to your point, there may be other conflict or ethical or other non-municipal code
correct
restrictions.
The only consideration at that point, if the finance director was appointed, was also the city treasurer, your only conflict there or concern is the way it's currently handled is the finance director reports to the city manager, whereas an elected official reports to the voters. And so you would have to clarify that.
So if we appointed them, they still wouldn't report to the voters. Who would they be accountable to? It'd be the council.
I think we'd have to split their duties. In this capacity, they are treasurer and they are accountable to the voters. But I don't want to get too far down this road because I don't think this is a possibility. Because
I'm asking a different question. Sorry. So, let me clarify. So if we were to appoint a resident to be the treasurer, so to the city clerk's point is that if a treasurer would be accountable to a treasurer on the ballot would be accountable to the citizens, to electors. If we appointed it, then the treasurer would be accountable to the council because we're the ones that are appointing it. So we would still have to make a change in the code. Is that am I understanding that right?
And so, Deputy City Attorney can correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is that the appointed city treasurer would still be accountable to the voters because it's an elected position, and the city council may appoint someone to that position, but they are still accountable to the voters and subject to recall, I believe.
But not termination by the council appointers.
Right.
That is correct.
That is I'm not familiar with your municipal code, but that is what correct under state law.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if there's and I don't know how quickly our meeting is relative to the election or the seating of a potential new city treasurer, but can we contemplate an interim city treasurer appointment?
Well, our
is that even necessary?
City treasurer would our current city treasurer would be in his position until
the reseating.
until our restructure
Reorg.
meeting, reorg meeting. And so we would have a month basically between the election and reorg to gather well, actually no, let me take that back. The write-in period ends October 10th, you said?
October 22nd, sorry.
So October
yes.
22nd, so basically, at that point, we will know if there is any actual candidate eligible to be elected. And then I think at that point, it would behoove us to have a process to try to seat someone, to appoint someone so they can be seated with the elected.
At that, so the process, I'm assuming it would be, the council would sit down, decide upon someone potentially, and then
Or
they would be
open up
seated,
now,
they would be seated at the reorg.
I mean, we could talk about it. I mean, I don't know that if they were seated in January, there would be a huge, I mean, you tell me, I mean, if we had a gap.
That's something that we would look into, but I know for sure you couldn't appoint an interim. It would be an appointment, they would be filling.
I didn't think that question through thoroughly.
It's okay.
Because of the
getting late.
timing. Yeah.
I mean, the question really is, from a practical standpoint, if we have a dearth of applicants and don't have anyone to appoint, sort of like, I guess we need to understand what the backup plan is here, because if we don't have anybody apply and have nobody to appoint in that time frame, which is pretty short, like how long can we go without one, and like what do we do to solve that problem? I think that's really the potential.
We can look
problem.
into it, but it is possible to have a vacancy in that office.
Okay.
And not have not have that seat filled until you find a qualified a person to appoint. That is something that could happen. It can happen with recall as well, right? The gap between when the seat is vacated and filled. We try to avoid that, but it is possible to have a vacancy in that office.
So, Councilmember Goss, to your point, this has happened before where we didn't have a treasurer to.
I believe the person that was there before Mike, there was a gap between them, wasn't there?
So it has happened with the city clerk, not with your, I think you're recalling when there was we had a city clerk who resigned her seat.
No, I'm talking about treasurer.
As long as I've been here.
Who was the treasurer before Mario?
Richard Mays?
Richard Mays for a long time.
Richard Mays, and then George and Yeti before that.
Wasn't there a gap there between that then and the time Mike ran?
I don't recall a gap in the finance director, in the city treasurer, but there was one with the city clerk when we had the resignation.
I remember that.
And that was, I believe, and I'm going off of memory, 180 days is what allows the city council, the legislative body, to make an appointment. But I'm not sure on those days. I think it is 180 days for the legislative body to make an appointment in between the gap.
And then what? I mean,
And do we have something on the books? Because there are responsibilities as the city treasurer. Do we have something on the books in that interim that somebody fulfills those duties, such as signing checks or things of that nature? Do we know that?
that's a concern as well, right?
And then I'll bring up a calendar issue. So if we've got the write-in period that goes through October 27th, we have 1.5 meetings of when we could consider this.
What's a half meeting?
I'll explain. there is some logic to. So we've got a meeting on November 12th. That's our first meeting in November after the 27th.
Are we discussing? The 22nd or the 27th?
Discussion.
October 22nd.
Are we discussing yet, or do we open this up?
Second. Okay, so then we could discuss it on the 22nd. So we've got the 22nd, we've got the 12th. The next one after that is the 26th, which is the week of Thanksgiving.
Right, which we'll cancel.
Right, and then we have the reorg, which I call
that's
the half
that's
meeting.
the half meeting. Got it.
Because it's typically it's ceremonial. We try not to have that. So we really have two.
Which we should stick to.
Two council meetings. So we've got the 22nd, which is the due date. So I don't know if that works from a noticing perspective. And then we've got the 12th. So as we start thinking about the calendar and all that, and any gap, it's almost like we need to have candidates identified and have the discussion on the 12th, which seems, yeah, that's exactly where
Oh, on
my
the
mind
12th,
was.
on the 12th, oh,
On
yeah.
the 12th of November, that still seems kind of tight, because it's, you know.
I still feel like we could, you know, and people should correct me if I'm wrong, notice it for the 22nd in anticipation, and obviously if someone does file papers for a write-in candidacy, then that would change the nature of the discussion, but I think we could have the item on the agenda for that.
Madam Mayor, the election is in November, so even if we did have a candidate identified for the November, they wouldn't be sworn in until December. So I don't know if that gives you.
No, we're just talking about giving us enough time. Like we could actually suggest to people if they're interested to make their interest known, even in advance of the write-in period, and we could have that agendized for that 22nd meeting, which is the end of the write-in period. I'm just saying that will give us enough leeway. And once we know there's no write-in candidate, then the election is sort of superfluous, right? So, yeah, okay. I mean, those are things we need to consider. I don't think we're going to have discussion or anything, but any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. This was good. And good to, you know, identify the issue for the public. So, you know, if this is something that interests you.
Can we take public comment on this item?
No, we did not.
Do we need to?
Do we, I'm asking.
Yeah, it is recommended.
Okay. I mean, I guess, yeah, well, I'll just say that it's also illustrative to the community as to what the needs might be, and if you're interested, talk to somebody. Yes, and so now that our questions are done, we will open this up for public comment. Questions that maybe were slightly discussion, but.
Madam Mayor, we have no speaker cards for this item.
Okay. I don't think we have any further discussion. And I don't think process was actually on the agenda, so I don't think we can actually determine a process, so. Okay, so I will, is there any future agenda items anyone wants to bring up?
Madam Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem.
So, thinking forward with the library, it would be great to kind of talk through communications and how we've got at least 4 bodies that are involved in the library. We've got council, we've got board of trustees, I'm getting late, the foundation and friends. And it'd be good to kind of discuss maybe an ad hoc committee or something where we can make sure as this gets, as the dirt gets moved and things get built, that it may be good to have a tighter communication in that, so we're not playing telephone on that. So I'd like to propose to agendize that for a future meeting.
Agendize a discussion of the appointment of an ad hoc, library subcommittee, kind of like the transportation subcommittee?
A discussion of communication and part of the communication as an ad hoc committee.
Anything else?
Not right now.
All right, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy Sierra Madre Day.
Thanks for staff. Thank you, everybody.
9102
You guys did an awesome job, Laura. Amazing. I can't believe how busy everything was today.
What time does trivia start?